Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Welcome, race fans, to PitStop TV. Joe Donahue joined me on the mic this evening. Trey Shuttles, Andrew Cardinale IV behind the scenes, and Trey Shuttlesworth on social media coverage. My name is Noah Carmichael, and this is PitStop TV's live coverage of the Bluegrass iRacing series. Thank you for tuning in across our multiple platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. We join you tonight from the virtual Darlington, South Carolina for the final race of the Bluegrass iRacing series regular season, as we look to set the field to see which 16 drivers will be fighting for a championship in a month's time in Phoenix. Tonight's play, like I said, Darlington Raceway, the very challenging 1.36 mile oval in its egg-shaped beauty. You see 25-degree bankings for 1 and 2, 23-degree bankings in 3 and 4, and as you see the odd shapings off in turns 3. The history of this track is weird, as when it was bought in farmland, a deal was struck with the former owner of the land not to disturb the middle pond off in what is now turn number 3, at the time was turn number 1. A very, very interesting course with a lot of history, and tonight is now going to be throwback night as the field gets set for its final race of the regular season. Joe, we've seen a lot of good racing throughout the entire regular season up to this point. What can you expect tonight as we get set for the postseason?
Well, I think this is a really interesting and a great track to be the end of the regular season. Obviously, you can see Darlington is too tough to tame. Very unique course. It posts a lot of challenges, and I think it's one of the most difficult courses that these guys have to deal with all season long. Add on top of that the pressure to get into the playoffs, and add on top of that it's throwback weekend. So these guys are going to want to perform well with those, but they also need to try to get into those 16 slots in the playoffs. I think we're set for a great show tonight.
Absolutely, indeed. As you see on your screen, the current point standings as they run after Watkins Glen. All the drivers in blue you see are the drivers that are officially locked in, now either on a win or in the points. So Ryan Kendall and John Kinder, both drivers who have not yet found their way to victory lane, don't have to worry going into this race about whether or not they're going to make that round of 16. They are officially in. Jack Bauer, Bryce Hunter, Nick Mills are in a pretty safe spot to guarantee their way into the playoffs. So in reality, 12th through 16th are the spots up for grabs here tonight, and it is sure to be a doozy to find out which of these drivers are going to make the field to fight for a championship at Phoenix. But as of right now, the number one thing we have to worry about is where are these drivers going to start, as qualifying is hot and underway. Right now, you're looking at Adam Lancaster on the screen. Your winner back from New Hampshire, he doesn't have to worry about making the playoffs either, because he's already made it in on a win, and now he's going to look to try and get himself some points to strengthen his fight for a championship starting next week at Bristol.
Yeah, Lancaster did get a victory this past season, both in season 1 and season 2. That would be the last season he was able to pull one in. And this season, especially, it was crucial for him. He got a long way into this season before he really started ticking off good finishes. But evidently, he broke through, got that win. Casey Barlow, the driver you see on your screen, running that Days of Thunder throwback, not one of the guys who waited very long. He won very early in the season and secured a spot in the playoffs, but hasn't quite gotten the breakthrough since. We've talked to him a couple times in the top 3 rundowns post-race in the past couple events, but haven't quite gotten to see him back up at the top of the board. He's going to try to set a good qualifying lap, see if he can start off the race on the right foot, at least on that front row.
Yeah, he's always run a Days of Thunder throwback throughout the season, usually running a throwback to the City Chevrolet. This, a very different throwback, now running it back to the Mellow Yellow throwback that was ran in the movie. Also was ran by Kyle Petty around in the mid-'80s and late '90s. Well, not the early 90s, I should say. Correction there. So right now he currently sits 8th on the board as it stands, having ran a 27.753. If you're wondering who was on pole, no surprise, it is a number 21 of John Kender, a guy who has been fast throughout the entirety of the season, but has just yet to found his way to the victory lane to celebrate a win. And as of right now, it looks like he could be on track to maybe getting that first win tonight if he can keep it up. And then how about if you're looking at qualifying, right now you're looking at Brandon Robertson, the regular season leader in the points. He has been on fire this entire season from the get-go. He has quickly thrown his name into the hat for the championship fight. He is one of the most successful drivers this season, and currently, as I would say, the favorite to take home the crown at Phoenix next month.
Yeah, I think Brandon Robertson's got a really great, strong foot down, especially considering he's won this season. I mean, I can't count John Kinder out. I know John's got a lot of motivation to win races and to do well, and there are some other really great names in this series to watch out for headed to Phoenix. But I think you're right. Brandon Robertson is one of, if not the top dog to be watching to see who's going to win that race, because he's very consistent across all sorts of race tracks, whether you want to go to a road course or a short track or a super speedway, places like that. I think Robertson can be strong anywhere, and that's probably going to propel him forward. Jack Bauer, on the other hand, I want to give him a lot of credit because we saw a pretty significant learning curve for the driver of this number 48 over the course of season 1 and into season 2, but he's finally started breaking through with some really good finishes. He's come runner-up, doesn't quite have that win yet, but heck, who knows? By the end of the season, he might be in the Final Four, and he maybe, just maybe, could pull it off at Phoenix.
Yeah, he's ran some very beautiful paint schemes over the course of the year, and right now, there's no other. That car is looking stylish on the racetrack, and who knows, that might have given him the bit of confidence that he needed, because like we said, during the first season, he wasn't really a guy that we talked about much as being a contender for the championship, or top 10s for that matter. He ran on the back half of the field, and around the midpoint of this season, something clicked inside that cockpit. He has been on rails the past few weeks and has made himself a contender for top 5s and even wins. He came very also close to having it done out loud and had a really strong run at Watkins Glen a week ago, and he's just a guy that's kind of become a contender just for anything. He's really just had the breakout season that we were looking for out of him, and he is delivering on that right now. Currently 14th on the board, not really been the strongest in qualifying, but somehow in the race he just finds himself up there in contention, and tonight it could be no different. I think he had a really strong run here a year ago when we were here for the first season of the Bluegrass iRacing series.
Yeah, Jack's a really aggressive driver. I think that has paid dividends in the past, but season 1 maybe was where he got his footing of, hey, I need to learn when to be aggressive at the right times to not only avoid incidents, but to progress forward. And I think alongside of that, just pure practice. I think practice has shown that Jack Bauer the way, and he's slowly worked into getting some more practice down, being more consistent, but also being intelligent with the moves he makes, which, not to take any credit away from him, but over the course of time, you definitely learn more and you have more opportunities to race against the guys that you're driving against. Obviously, more time to race beside them is learning how they run and what little tricks you can use to get past them. So I think time has given Jack the advantage that he needed to start putting together these really great performances. And hopefully over the course of these next couple races, if he can get that car into the playoffs, which should be pretty easy for him at this point, like we said, could put it forward and keep going in the playoffs.
Yeah, and this is something that we're seeing out of him right now. He has already completed the 2 laps required for qualifying. Now he's just running laps, which is something that he has done in the past week in, week out for quite a while. He will complete the qualifying round, but just keep going just to get that extra few laps of practice, because we still have about 3 or 4 minutes left here in qualifying. So he's going to use it all up to try and learn whatever he can about this track for the race. So right now he's going to continue pushing forward, regardless of the fact that he is already locked in to about a 14th position at best for the race to start off. So right now he's currently sitting with a 28.063. Ryan Kendall right behind him, currently locked into the playoffs with a 28.1, and then Nick Mills, the last driver to have set a lap so far here tonight. But still up at the front row, it is John Kinder and then Justin Winters. Justin Winters had a very quiet season. He's still a guy that you consider being a contender for the championship, but he's just not had the same kind of a season he had last year, where he was winning races and being in the top 5 every week. Every now he's just running outside top 15, and then is just fighting his way in and has these great top 10, top 5 finishes, which boosted him for a shot at the championship. Right now, this is probably the best start to the race he's had so far this season, I might say, because it's just been a very, very odd and quiet season for the driver of the number 52 Chevrolet, and he could find himself in a position to get another win here tonight if he plays it right.
I would agree with that completely. No, I think Justin's had ups and downs this season to no end. I think that that's a really great point about Justin, who very easily could have won that championship last season, but just kind of hasn't had it with him every race this season. But evidently, starting second shows he at least kind of has a gist of what he's doing here tonight, and that should pay off nicely for him.
So about 1 minute and 55 seconds left here in qualifying, and right now we want to give a quick thank you early in the race for our sponsors here tonight who allow us to do these broadcasts. Starting off, we want to give a shout out to Tucson Sound Art. Your picture, your music. You provide the image you want, we will custom create a beautiful framed, high quality camera with a built-in Bluetooth speaker. With Sound Art, you get the best of both worlds. Visit TucsonSoundArt.com for additional information, and be sure to use the promo code PitStop TV at checkout and receive 10% off your purchase. Also want to give a shout out to Race Pace. Ever wish you could have a race engineer on speed dial? Well, now you can. Thanks to Race Pace, a driver development service and setup shop all in one. Work with Tyler, a real race world engineer, to step up your game before your next race. Pick up pace with Race Pace. Permanent Makeup in Cryo, Maine. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy. At Permanent Makeup in Cryo, Maine, the owner, Ashley Bullier, is a certified micropigmentation specialist who provides professional, safe, and personalized services. You can contact Permanent Makeup in Cryo, Maine at permanentmakeupinmaine.com or call/text them at 207-358-8683. If you're looking for the best solutions for your permanent makeup concerns, give Permanent Makeup in Cryo, Maine a call today to book a consultation. Lastly, we want to give a shout out to Whiplash Media, PitStop TV's new parent organization. Whiplash Media specializes in various sim racing resources, including paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing camera packs, and more. Whiplash Media is also working on its presence in real racing, offering services such as photography, social media management, and public relations. Go to whiplash-media.com for more information. And with that looks like it'll wrap up our qualifying session here. About 9 seconds left and nobody is on track. So what you see is going to be the starting lineup for tonight's event. 167 laps around the Darlington Raceway, as now we get set to set the grid. And with that, let's do a rundown of your starting grid. Starting on pole for tonight's action, driver, the number 21 is going to be John Kinder. Line up on his outside, the always fast number 52 of Justin Winters. Starting back in row number 2 on the inside, going to be the number 08 of Nicholas Noggle. On his outside, the 51 of Casey Barlow, locked in on a win early in the season. Starting behind them, in the number 28 is going to be Mr. Adam Lancaster. Alongside him, Brandon Robertson, the always in contention for a win and your number 1 championship contender. Behind them is going to be the number 14 of Tyler Reed. Alongside him will be the number 9 of Bryce Hunter. And then rounding out your top 10 is going to be the 38 of David Brackett, with the number 33 of Wyatt Brackett alongside him in the 10th position.
So father-son making up row number 5 there. We'll go back to row number 6. You'll see Ronnie Shirk in the number 7 machine on the inside of the number 71 of Michael Brisson, so 12. Going back to 13th spot on the grid, you got the number 1 machine, the Pennsylvanian representing Ohio is Scott Fritz, and on his outside in that Ally Chevrolet is Jack Bauer. Rounding out your top 15 starting order is going to be Ryan Kendall in the 68 car, and to his outside will start the number 46 of Nick Mills. 17th on the grid is going to be the 97, another Pennsylvania native. The Simbox driver is Nathan Maurer, and to his outside is going to be the New Englander, Matt Grenier, in the car number 15. Going back to row number 10, you got Gary Jaworski in the Toyota on the inside, and his outside will be the number 55 of CJ Mason. And rounding out your grid in that 21st spot all alone in the row is the number 13 of Brian Terry.
And with that, that'll wrap up your 21 car starting grid tonight here at the Darlington Raceway. We do have a little bit of an interesting situation going on. Michael Briston looks like he will have to drop to the rear, so he will start shotgun on the field instead of the number 13 of Brian Terry. As now the field rolls off as Justin Winters will lead the field to the point, with Justin Winters alongside him on the outside as they make their way through turns number 1 and 2. You see now Gary Jaworski and now Brian Terry gonna wrap it up, and there they go off into turns number 1 and 2. It has been a very exciting season top to bottom, and now we have just 167 laps to figure out which of these 16 drivers will be fighting for a championship starting next week at Bristol. Joe, judging by the starting lineup, who is going to be your pick here for tonight?
Oh man, if I had to pick picking someone's going to be tough here for me. I hate to do it, but I think I got to pick first place on the starting grid. I think John Kinder's been through a lot with this series and this season and hasn't quite gotten that win. I think he's put in a lot of effort. He's proved it, at least. And as long as nothing goes wrong for him, I think John Kinder should be up front at the end of this one.
The pace car now making that hard turn on to pit road, going to hand it back into the hands of the number 21. Justin Winters again to line up on his outside. Green flag in the hand of the starter as we await the start of tonight's action. And there we go. John Kinder going to get down on the power, and we are underway here at Darlington. He's going to get about a half a car length jump going into turn number 1, and he will clear him, as now it looks like Justin Winters is going to go up into the outside wall. He'll drop back to third, and Nicholas Nagel will promote himself into second as they corner off a 2.
Hopefully not too much damage on that 52 machine. He did get up in the wall in turn 1 right there. Nick Nagel slides through, takes second place. Adam Lancaster looking for a way around that number 52 machine as well. Casey Barlow, Brandon Robertson, they're all running single file out of turn 4. Cleanly through the first lap, John Kinder leads it with Nick Nagel, Justin Winters, Adam Lancaster, and Casey Barlow rounding out your top 5.
Now we're in the middle portion of the race now, what I would consider the pace. The field now has officially single filed their way out, and now they're just kind of trying to run these laps down to the halfway point of the race is the goal, while still also trying to catch some positions as well. As you see, they're going to start arcing it through these corners, and what by arcing it I mean is you're going to see it on these corner entries. They'll dive it all the way down to the white line, let it slide all the way up to the outside wall, almost touching it but barely not, and then just running it alongside it before maybe possibly, if they want to, arc it off of turn number 2 to get a better run down the back straightaway. Now on board with the 51 of Casey Barlow, trying to chase down the car in front of him. That is Adam Lancaster for the 4th position. As you see, the sun up ahead is going to be very interesting as we go later into the race, how much that'll affect these drivers' vision. Because we've always seen it in the Cup Series, when they go into that corner, as the sun goes down, it almost blinds them. It makes it almost a blind entry into the corner on how you judge your entry line to avoid that wall. Now looking on board with the way Nicholas Nagel, you might see it again here as he tries to catch up to 21 of John Kinder. It's not as bad now, but later into the race we go, that sun's going to get lower and lower, and it'll be right within the vision of the entry into the corner for these drivers.
Yeah, being able to see where you're going is pretty important. I think most cars you drive is pretty important, but especially here at Darlington, like we've said before, these turns are so unique and different challenges as they run through this one. As Nick Nagel gets bit by turns 1 and 2, slides up into the top side wall. Minimal damage on that. We have a yellow flag out on the track. Oh, we got a whole bunch of cars wrecking it up in turn number 1.
It looks like to be Michael Brisson. Also along in there is going to be number 48, Jack Bauer. Gary Jaworski looks like he might have been involved in that event as well, as we look for the replay to see what brought out our first caution here on lap number 5, as we look on board behind of the number 48 of Jack Bauer coming down the back straightaway. So look for it next time around. You see him there. Looks like he's battling alongside with the trying to figure out who that is in that cornflakes car. It is the number 15 of Matt Grenier as they make it off of turn number 1 and 2 to see what caused the incident here.
Yeah, so they're coming down into turn number 1. Oh, Jack Bauer got his entry all sorts of wrong there. That was just all on Jack, just getting it a little too high into the entrance of the turn, obviously getting noided at the end of that one with Jaworski Brisson going through there too. But just looked like a single car, just a little bit of misjudgment on how far he was away from that wall, and it just hooked him a little bit, brought him up into the wall. A little bit of damage on Matt Grenier's car too. We'll ride on board with Michael Brisson this time, see what it looked like to him as he tried to pilot it through and avoid that incident, and obviously it didn't work out so hot for him.
Yeah, just really having nowhere to go, because with this track, with the way it's set up, it's so hard to get down there on the bottom, especially when you're trying to avoid these wrecks, as he tries to slow down and get out of the way, but sadly, with the 48 being sideways, it basically blocks the entire racing line of where you can run that car, and he just hit him head on and caused a lot of damage to the nose of that 71 Ford Mustang, but also a lot of damage to the 48 of Jack Bauer, as that'll be hefty contact and a lot of engine damage from what I saw, as now Matt Grenier going to bring it off pit lane with about minimal damage from what he had behind him as well. The 46 of Nick Mills also running a Data Thunder throwback, as with Casey Barlow actually running the City Chevrolet, as now there you see the remains of the 71 and the 48, as their race is currently in jeopardy right now, as they sit on pit road, already a lap down, when you see just how bad the damage is for those two cars.
Yeah, and obviously Michael Brisson wasn't really as much in the picture for the playoff run as the number 48 was. Like we said at the beginning of the show, Jack Bauer should pretty much be good to go from here. Obviously, you see he's the first car that just isn't quite into the secured space of the playoffs by points. But obviously, we want to look at Gary Jaworski, too, who's in 14th place, definitely within grasp of the cutoff and getting dropped out of that top 16. And as we saw, he was involved in this incident. So hopefully not too much damage on his car. And he should be hopefully able to get that car back out on track and at least kind of do damage control of what he's got. He's still sitting on pit road, though, Noah, so that's not looking good for him.
Not looking good for him at all, and what he'll have to do from here on out, like you said, is just kind of damage control, get as much points as you can, and hope that drivers like Nathan Maurer aren't able to bump their way into the round of 16. Now looking at the field as they double their way, getting set for turns 3 and 4 again for another restart. Now John Kinder is still going to be leading the field, this time with Nicholas Noggle lining up on the outside. It'll be Justin Winters lining up in 3rd, Adam Lancaster in 4th, with Casey Barlow back in 5th, as the field now make their way up to turn number 4. The pace car going to make the hard left turn off the banking to the safety of pit road, and giving the field back to John Kinder as we get set for another restart attempt, as the green flag is back out. John Kinder going to get a better jump this time. This time he's going to clear the number 08 of Nicholas Noggle into turn number 1. It looks like Adam Lancaster will promote himself up to 3rd, as there is a fight going on back there for the 5th spot, as Brandon Robertson tries to get around a 51 to Casey Barlow unsuccessfully, as they make their way down the back straightaway once again.
Robertson did have a little bit of better momentum, speed out of turn number 2 that time. Into turn 3, though, it's going to stay single file up. You can see the whole way to the leader up there, John Kinder. The great restart by Adam Lancaster kind of caught me off guard there. I know Justin Winters didn't really have a great start off the race initially, but I was hoping to see that 52 get a better restart that time. And while it was pretty okay, it obviously wasn't better than Adam Lancaster, who now seems to be starting to put pressure on Nick Noggle up there. But for the moment back here, since the number 2 car and the number 51 kind of spaced it out a little bit, but don't count it out just yet. I think we could see some very awesome racing out of those two.
Yeah, they're right all over each other right now, as Adam Lancaster trying to find a way around the number 08 Toyota, the throwback to the Sterling Marlin car that he ran around the late 90s, and even what was run with Morgan McClure through that time up into the early 2000s with Mike Skinner, now trying to diamond the corner off of turn number 2, trying to build a run but can't do anything with it, and now he's going to have to look at the rear bumper of that 08 Toyota Camry, now sitting back off into 3, as Noggle slides up the racetrack a little bit later than he wishes. That is going to check the 2 up just a tad bit, and it looks like Justin Winters might be starting to reel them in little by little, but out front John Kinder is starting to open up a little bit of a gap early into this restart.
Yeah, Noggle is like really close to the topside wall. I don't think he's made contact with it yet, but it seems like Noggle's apexing right now isn't really at par, at least in terms of what Adam Lancaster's doing right behind him. I'm watching that 28 to make sure that the aero isn't too bad on him. Obviously, when you ride in the draft of a car in front of you, you lose some of the downforce that you get off of the aerodynamics of your car. But for the moment, it looks like it's not having that big of an effect, if any, on the number 28 machine. He's actually getting into those corners a lot better than Noggle right now. Noggle ducked down to the inside, protected the bottom there, and actually checked up the 28 enough to put him into the grasp of Justin Winters. They go into turn number 3 again, and that spaces out just a little bit, but they're going to try to reel back into Noggle right now, who seems to be struggling a little bit with the middle and exit of the corners compared to the 28.
Yeah, he's very much struggling in the corner exit to try and get the run off, but he's doing it in just the right spot that is preventing Adam Lancaster or Justin Winters from being able to capitalize to get the run they need to get it side by side down the back straightaway. So it's kind of creating a wall that is keeping those two at bay, which is not what either of those two want or even what Nicholas Naga wants, but is exactly what Kinder wants. He is almost about at a second gap from where it stands right now, as just a 3-car fight breaking on for that second position, as Brandon Robertson is not too far behind them as well, as he has made his way around Casey Barlow for the 5th spot, relegating the number 51 back to 6th, as now you're looking at Justin Winters trying to do what he can to get around number 28, but just like the situation up in the front, it is just really boxing these three in, preventing them from being able to make a pass on each other, because you can see Winters has the run going into the corners, but he just doesn't have the corner exit that he needs to dive down to the inside and try and pass Lancaster.
The name of the game, I would think, would be to try to get out of the turn as fast as you can and carry some momentum down the straightaway, use some draft, and then send it in on the inside when you go into either turn 1 or turn 3. We're looking back further towards the end. We've got a nice little battle going on right here. This would be for 9th place. You're riding on board with Ronnie Shirk as he's looking to try to get around David Brackett in the 38 machine. We spent a little time at the front end of the pack, but nonetheless still a good fight going on with 9th and 10th right now. As I said, you're riding on board with Shirk. He's going into turn number 1 again. Those two single filed out a little bit as we got a pretty good amount of space right now, as Justin Winters just lost his spot to Brandon Robertson.
Yeah, he's losing quite a bit of time as well, as it looks like Casey Barlow might have a shot of gaining on him as well. So it's a very, very interesting situation for the 52 Allen's Body Shop Chevrolet Camaro. Now looking back again at the fight going on between Brackett and Shirk Jr. as they corner off of turn number 4 down the front straightaway. Now looking at another very interesting paint scheme out the rear bumper of Tyler Reed, who was trying to hold on to the 7th spot, but is losing it to number 9 of Bryce Hunter, running that Elliott throwback to not only the father, Bill Elliott, but also the son, Chase Elliott, a mixture of those two famous paint schemes as they run on off into turn number 3. So there's something that we've always kind of talked about that kind of brings in with the Bluegrass iRacing series. Even though the leaders might be spread out enough to where it doesn't look there's a fight, it's just like no matter where you look, there's always somebody on this racetrack fighting with somebody. There's always a fight for position taking place. Like there's not really anyone is at a point where everyone can just breathe and run out their laps. It's just everyone's fighting for something on this racetrack, and it's just one of the great things about this league. Because now you're looking again at Shirk Jr. possibly getting that run on David Brackett as they corner through 3 and 4, and if he can get that corner exit he needs, he might be able to go side by side with him, but he's just unable to do anything as right now. As now you look back at Ryan Kendall, who is currently running back in the 13th spot.
Yeah, I was going to say, what you're talking about with Ronnie Shirk Jr. seems to be the same issue that a lot of guys have been having out on the track when they start catching up to cars in front of them and want to make that pass. You're riding on board and looking as Nathan Maurer goes low. That was kind of a surprising move right there, but around the outside, no trouble. Actually might have done that on purpose just to let Ryan Kendall get through there. And I don't know what the purpose would have been. As you see, Scott Fritz hits the wall in that number 1 machine as well. We got a couple guys maybe making strategic moves to try to conserve tires or something of the sorts and just kind of keep their cars underneath them. Maybe their tires are even worn out by this point. No, tires are huge here at Darlington.
Absolutely. This track is not only a fender killer with how many times you can paint the wall, but it is also a tire killer, which is how abrasive this track is with how old the surface here. With how it stands right now, if we don't have a caution, they're going to need to make it out here to lap 83 for the halfway break. But where it stands right now, that might just be the case because we don't really see a whole lot of incidents taking place besides just drivers finding their way into the outside wall. You saw Ryan Kendall get a little wobbly off of turn number 4, but is now looking in front of the Brackett family the duo David and Wyatt as they corner off of turn number 2. Wyatt Brackett having won last week at the Watkins Glen after having an incredible performance, scoring his first win of the season. Now finds himself running in 11th and not having to worry about whether or not he will make the playoffs. Now he just has to worry about getting enough points to strengthen his fight for the championship as he tries to close in on his father for that 10th position.
Yeah, last week was really awesome to see Wyatt Brackett finally break through and get that win, and it was a really great place to see it, and he put a lot of skill and practice into doing so. You see him making a run now maybe on David, not going to get his father into turn number 3 this time, but right on the tail. They go nose to tail through 3 and 4. Slides up the track, tries to get a nice run, some momentum to the inside, doesn't quite work for Wyatt. They go down the front stretch again. They got a whole line of cars in front of them, so I think if Wyatt gets around his father right now, he's still going to have cars that he's going to want to fight with in front of them, being Ronnie Shirk and Tyler Reed, those two in front. But for the moment, it looks like Wyatt's got some really good runs out of the corners, and David's just going to let him go sliding through on the outside.
Not going to try and hold him up there. He's going to let him on by, and now he will take over the 10th position, now setting his sights as David Brackett's still falling back. He's going to fall back behind Nathan Maurer and possibly Matt Grenier. So it looks like he's taking either something's up with that number 38, or he's just trying to take it easy and doesn't want to fight anybody just yet with how early in the race it is. But he just lost about 4 spots from that move. So a very interesting strategy call as you see the field just about single file off. And even though they are single file, then you're getting into the rhythm that they need to make it to the end. You're seeing just how tough these corner exit is, because when you get back on the throttle and you try to diamond these corners off, you get so close to the wall and you're right near it and getting out of those marbles, and you're seeing cars get loose all the time trying to hold on to it. And now you look back up front as now it looks like there might be a 3-car fight brewing here for the 8th spot between Tyler Reed, Ronnie Shirk, and Wyatt Brackett as they make their way off of turn number 2 once again. As you see the fight now also starting just alone for the 9th position as Wyatt Brackett is now mounting a charge on number 7.
They come into turn number 3. Shirk closed up a lot right there to the back of Tyler Reed. I think tires are the name of the game right now, Noah. I think the tires are just kind of wearing off on some of these guys' cars. They don't really have it set to the way they like it, and obviously they're using up more rubber than they should. Ronnie Shirk lets Wyatt Brackett go down the inside. That was a sketchy way to do that, but Wyatt Brackett slides through into 9th spot and gets to start challenging Tyler Reed. This is a nice little battle right here. You got about 5 cars within length of each other that could be making some noise and making some passes in due time, but it's all about how well your car's running underneath you. And as I say that, one guy whose car is running very well underneath him is Brandon Robertson. He's worked his way all the way up into the top 3 at this point. That number 2 machine still charging on forward to try to catch up to Nick Noggle, who's retained at 2nd place this whole time. Haven't really checked in on John Kinder, but he's been rocking it at the front end of the field. Dominated this race last time they came out here with this series, and tonight he just picks up where he left off. He's led almost the whole way through it. He's been the pole sitter and just chugging along up front, Noah.
Absolutely. He's just been on fire since the get-go, just like how he was a week ago at Watkins Glen. Now it just kind of rose into the question, can he keep up this momentum and take it to the checkers and win it, or will something reach out and strike this number 21 car to prevent it from getting a win? Because he's had that happen to him back in New Hampshire and Watkins Glen for the past 2 weeks. He's been in positions to win these races, but just yet something happens that takes him out of the equation for the race to win. And right now he is currently safe with about a 2.5 second gap, and the only real issue being is a little bit of lap traffic taking part from Brian Terry. He's the only bit of lap traffic up till turn number 4. So right now it's just kind of smooth sailing for the 21 car as he tries to get it to the stage break at the halfway point. It's like he might be taking a dive down to pit road for his first pit stop. So very early pit call here for the number 21 Rims 1 Ford Mustang. He's going to bring it to the attention of his pit crew here on lap 30.
So that will let Nick Noggle adopt the race lead in the 08. We'll have to see how long he stays out on the course, as we still are following John Kinder through the pit lane right now. The rest of the field stayed out, and we should be seeing a cycle. I think most people want to be a follower in this case, and once someone like, say, John Kinder comes down the pit road, I think we'll see more and more guys start to attempt to do the same. Nick Noggle, rounding out of turn 4 this time, did not follow, so Nick will retain the race lead for just a brief moment as we jump back with Ryan Kendall making some moves. The number 68 driving with Nathan Maurer and Matt Grenier still on their tails. Nice 3-car grouping as we got a couple more cars coming down pit lane.
Ronnie Shirk Jr. now bringing it down, as well as Lancaster and I believe Maurer, as well as it's Casey Barlow also coming down. So 3 more cars bringing it down. You see the onboard there with Lancaster going to bring it into his pit box. So that completes the teammates of Lancaster and Kinder going to bring in their first pit stops. Now looking at Scott Fritz and that Jeff Gordon throwback, as well as Tyler Reed. So a lot of these top 10 drivers now following the suit of what the 21 car did. So it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out. And now here comes your second place starter, Justin Winter's going to bring it in, maybe trying to rebound and get another run going to try and build his way back up. You see more and more of the leaders now bringing in for their first round of pit stops.
Yeah, and we see more and more like David Brackett, Nick Mills now coming down pit road, but we didn't see Nick Noggle quite yet. Brendan Robertson up front, they're still out there running strong on their own. And I think that might be a strategy move on their parts to try to be a little bit different and deviate from the norm. Try to run out a little bit more with this one and try to get some more time in on these tires before they come into the pit lane. Matt Grenier comes back out onto the pit track very quickly, actually. So maybe a little bit of strategy move, not taking tires or something of the sorts, short fueling that car, trying to make them last. I think tires are going to be an issue over the course of the whole night, and maybe conserving a set to the end of the race would be a good way to have a good car underneath you when the time gets important at the end of this race. So Matt Grenier for the moment just kind of running with what he has. A very short pit stop, going to stick him up the order, a significant margin, but we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out for him.
Yeah, he's a very interesting strategy call as he took no tires, so it might just be the case of trying to get enough fuel. He's going to try and use the strategy game to not only save a set of tires for the end of this race, but also just to possibly get some stage points to help him in the championship. Now looking at Nathan Maurer coming down pit road, who also had a very interesting strategy call. Not really a strategy call. He tried coming in the last lap, but with how tough it is to get on pit road, he actually ended up missing the pit entrance. He locked the brakes trying to slow down. He went wide and almost lost the car in turn 4, so he loses quite a bit of time on that move, as now Nicholas Noggle in the number 08 Toyota Camry brings it to the attention of his crew, as now the question will be, when will the number 2 of Brandon Robertson bring it in? And that answer is now. So now all of the leaders just about having made their way on pit road. Wyatt Brackett as well coming down, so is Ryan Kendall, and that will give the lead to none other than Matt Grenier, who right now is holding a bit of the leaders a lap down. John Kinder has now gotten his lap back, as you see more and more of the field coming down as Brian Terry now dives it into his pit box. And now the last of the stragglers on their pit cycles are bringing it in.
Yeah, so that will complete a round of green flag pit stops. So that's really good to see that we got all the way to some green flag pit stops and some strategy gets to play its head in tonight's race. Matt Grenier, very interesting, and the only guy to hold the move he didn't take tires, so you can see he is very far ahead of the rest of the guys out on track, but he's going to be a little bit slower than them because he's got that old rubber and those tires are used up a lot more. John Kinder coming around, you see him in second place right now on your screen. You can see how quickly he's going to be able to catch back up to Matt Grenier, just running as good as he can through 3 and 4 right now. We'll see how close he is to Grenier, but he should be pretty far back, and I think over the course of this run, he might be able to trek back up into where Matt Grenier is, but for the time being, he's still almost an entire lap behind him. He's 26.6 seconds back.
Yeah, so right now as it stands, Kinder is off of turn number 2, as now is Grenier. So just almost a lap, a little bit less than that, as Kinder on those fresh tires is going to tear into that lead. So really all that Matt Grenier can do is just hang on as best as he can. If he can hold on to this and make the strategy work, that's going to put him in a very, very good spot, because like I said earlier, he will now have a extra set of tires to make it to the end when he brings it down pit road, with how off strategy he went compared to the rest of the leaders. So another big question is just going to be, can he hold on to this for another 30 or so laps? Because like I said, at the end of lap 67, as actually another interesting scenario is, turns out we said he might have came in for a 5-second step of just fuel. No, he hasn't pitted yet at all. So he is actually the last car to have not brought it to the attention of his crew to make that trip down pit road. So he is on a very interesting pit stop. So it looks like a lot of drivers who are pitting when the tires are going to run out, he is going to pit when the fuel runs out. So that'll be very interesting for the number 15 car to see how long he can stretch this out in that Terry Labonte throwback.
Yeah, I like the strategy move. I always like the idea of trying to, at the early stages, run as long as you can with what you have and try to stretch out the abilities of your tires. You see Matt Grenier coming down to the apron, so this is going to be him relinquishing the lead to come in and get service on this 15 machine. Getting through the early stages of the race, just kind of taking everything you can out of the first set or two of tires and trekking forward in the race is a good call for the idea that you could save some stuff for the end. It's a gamble because you could lose the time, but at the same time, at the end of the race, you might be able to put yourself in a really good position. So we're gonna have to watch Matt Grenier over the course of this one to see what this does to his ending of the race and the strategy he can use there. But for the time being, we got Ronnie Shirk Jr. and Bryce Hunter out on track fighting for sixth spot.
Off of turn number 2, there he said fighting for that 6th position, Ronnie Sherry Jr. and that number 7 finish line, Wash Pros LLC Chevrolet Camaro cornering into turn number 1. Now looking out the rear bumper of the number 7, as you said, talked about the number 9 car. He's really started to come to life later in the season, just like how it was with Jack Bauer took him over the course of the season. This is Bryce Hunter's first season, and he has really started to come to life these last few weeks and has been a really strong top 10 contender. It looks no different right now as he looks to try and make his way around that number 7 car as they go to complete lap number 42 and now diving it back down to turn number 1. But just a very interesting move being played by the 9 as he has just really come to life later on in this first season and is currently in a position to possibly take away a top 5 spot.
Look at Bryce running very strong right now as we got Wyatt Brackett back down the pit lane. I don't know if this would be scheduled or not, but the number 33 machine comes down and we'll get some service on his car now, so he's going to be relinquishing a lot of track position time. He was doing pretty well, trekking his way up through the field in that first run, and as a very, very quick pit stop indeed, he's back out and away.
So a very quick pit stop there for the number 33. He's going to bring it back out onto the racetrack as it might have just been a fuel pit stop only just to save a set of tires for the number 33 just to get him to the end of this stage. I would reckon that's the same issue, or it might have been just a penalty as well. Because I noticed it as well. That might have been an issue that caused up here was the number 2 of Brandon Robertson because he fell way down the running order. He's currently sitting 15th, 1 lap down. I'm trying to see what might have caused that because he came in the last pit stop only for what it looked like maybe right side tires. So some very interesting strategy calls being played here. Or is he? We look at the timing of scoring. He spent 54 seconds in his pit stall, so we're going to reckon that is actually just the stop and hold for speeding. So an issue that has really tainted the season for this number 2 car, where he's had very, very strong runs throughout the entirety of the season, where he's had very good runs going in the top 5, just has it taken away from him because of speeding issues on pit road, much like what we're believing might be the issue with the 33 of Wyatt Brackett. But regardless, that's going to knock them out of the top 10 all the way down about 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th on back for those guys. Now looking up at the number 97 of Nathan Maurer, who is mounting a charge on the number 1 of Scott Fritz for the 9th position as they make their way into turn number 3.
They come through 3 and 4. You got Maurer looking to the inside of Scott Fritz, and Maurer is on a charge to try to get some points and get into the playoffs right now, so he's definitely going to want to be putting that car as far to the front as he can. Fritz has a pretty good run going right now as we look back at Jack Bauer, who's lost his front bumper off that 48 machine in this event, and Jack is back out on track, so that's good to see. He can trek forward and try to get some points. Whoa, boy, that was a communication between 2 drivers right there. Bauer was trying to duck out of the way of Wyatt Brackett so that Brackett could get the faster line. Obviously, Brackett's on a much further ahead on the track than Jack Bauer is because he's got all that repairs from that initial caution we had. And, just tried to duck out of the way. Brackett tried to go down low to get around him, and instead just kind of all went down south. They all ran in the same space, and we were very fortunate we didn't get another yellow out of that one.
He is in a very dangerous situation, and they look on board with 51 of Casey Barlow, as he has been stationed in his pit box for a whole 3 minutes. So a driver who had ran up in the top 5 very strong in the first run of this race now finds himself sitting way back in 18th, now 8 laps down and counting. So a really interesting ongoing story with the number 51. We're going to have to see hopefully what that issue is, because the only driver confirmed out of the race is number 71 of Michael Brisson, who had parked it 43 laps down and counting back in 21st. So that is going to be a very big shakeup in the lineup, as one of the guys who's contending for a win early in the race is now way out of contention for that race win. Now looking back at the 38 of David Bracken, now trying to make his way back into the 10th position as he now charges up on the number 1 of Scott Fritz, stay corner off of turn number 2.
Yeah, I was going to say, one thing that happens in motorsports is that one man can gain off of another man's losses. And when somebody, say, like Casey Barlow has an issue or an incident and takes himself out of the top 10, you get somebody like Scott Fritz who gets to pop up in for a little while. Obviously, Scott's going to have a lot of trouble right here because David Brackett's trying to catch up to him and get around him back into the top 10. He's running very high up on the track, and actually Fritz seems to have been having some issues throughout the course of this one, keeping that car off the top side wall. He's going to get passed here by Wyatt Brackett, but don't be worried, Wyatt is lapped down, so that is not a lap pass for position. As Scott Fritz gets up into the wall again, it seems like that one car just isn't quite getting it down and running a solid line through these corners. Maybe not set up the way Scott Fritz likes it to get through this one, but for the time being, still running in 10th spot. Hopefully the damage doesn't get too bad for him and keep going on.
Now looking back at the number 9 of Bryce Hunter, who is still fighting the number 7 of Ronnie Shirk Jr. there for the 6th position. Now cornering off of 4. Looks like Bryce Hunter might have the run he was looking for. He is very much closing on the bumper as he's going to pull to the inside and let Hunter go by. So that will surrender the 6th spot to the number 9 of Hunter. He might have just saw the run coming and was like, I'm going to get out of the way before I push this car too far, and ended up wrecking this car and ruining the stage points that he has right now as we are closing in on the final 10 laps of this stage of the race. Now according into turns 3 and 4, you see him get very high up close to the wall. Now looking back up front with your current leader, John Kinder, who has just outright dominated this whole race as of right now. Only laps he hasn't led were the laps that he spent when he went down pit road, now holding on to a almost 4.5 second lead over the number 28 of Adam Lancaster, teammate to him. So very strong run for those two as they are 1-2 at this point of the race, as now in the final laps looks like he will easily cruise his way to another stage win.
Yeah, when I think about teammates in this series, I think about John Kinder, Adam Lancaster. Obviously, those two Ghostface Brewing Rims 1 machines have been working together since season 1. You see Ryan Kendall coming down the pit lane. That 68 car going to probably top off, as will Ronnie Shirk in the number 7. So we're seeing a couple guys coming down and relinquishing position to try to get some more fuel in the tanks and rock out the finish of this first stage. We should see more come through over time, but for the moment, they stay the way they are, and John Kinder stays out front, leading the way by a significant margin, just trying to trek forward, get some more points, those bonus points at the end of stage 1, and then set the tone and start working on the second stage and getting to the finish, getting that first win of the season.
Very much so. If he can get a win, that'll be a very, very big moment for him, because he has just waited for that this entire season, much like how he had for last season. He had one early in the season back at Atlanta, but had fallen off in a slump around the midseason up into the late point when he would see his next win this year. He was just yet to find it. He had really been struggling in the early stages with some of the new faces that he came in and just outright dominated it for the most part, as now he is going to bring it back down for his second pit stop. And I said there was 10 to go. I'm going to correct myself. The actual stage in is all the way at lap 83, so we still have quite a ways to go. So this is actually going to top him off to then, as now John Kinder going to bring it in for what might be the last pit stop of the first half, as now Lancaster going to follow, as well as Nicholas Noggle and Justin Winters, as Bryce Hunter is going to stay out and take over the race lead, as we see more and more drivers bring it down, as Nathan Maurer again struggling on the pit entrance. Scott Fritz going to follow him in as well, as now Nathan's actually going to be able to back it down and bring it in. But we saw him there. He got a little squiggly on the entry to pit road.
Yeah, there was a little bit of dirt track skill going into getting down to the pit lane there for Nathan Maurer. I saw him slide that thing all the way to the inside, but got it under control, got it down pit lane speed, and made it in. Bryce Hunter is going to be the next to relinquish spots on track and come down to top off for the end of this stage. Completion of lap 58 will come shortly. David Brackett is the next one to come down to the pit road. So basically, we're just getting a revolving door at the entrance of pit lane right now. Everybody coming in, trying to top off and get to the end of this one. We've been green flags since that initial caution on lap 5 that took a couple guys out of contention and involved this car, which is leading the race right now. Just a small amount of damage left on it from that incident, but Matt Grenier's been trekking up through the field trying to keep it clean, which he didn't quite do out of turn number 4 right there. Got a little bit of dab on that wall on the rear quarter panel, but he's still running along, just barely getting into it and just trying to trek on. We saw him pull a very interesting and unique strategy move by not pitting for so long earlier on. We'll have to see how that plays out here as we get closer and closer. With 13 laps left to the end of stage number 1, John Kinder going to try to unlap himself here.
Yeah, with that 50% fuel limit, it just makes it very, very interesting for what we usually see. Grenier had actually pitted under the first caution, so that gives him the strength to stretch out the run further than anybody else. Now looking at Tyler Reed and that number 14 Ford Mustang as he brings it back down pit road. As right now he currently is running in the 7th spot. Right now it shows him a lap down, but that's only because of the fact Matt Grenier is staying out, and for staying out for so long, just because out of the way that he's been out there, just really traps the entire field down pit road, and the only driver not a lap down, that being John Kinder, who he just got passed by to get his lap back. And you see him just out of the corner of your screen off into turn number 2. So now there's going to be the question is, when is the 15 car going to bring it back down? He should only be able to stretch it out about 5 or 6 more laps. You're going to see how much off the pace he falls, and the 15 is going to get out of the way. And it might be this time, no, he's going to keep going, as now Scott Fritz will make his way around. A very close call between those two as more and more of the leaders look to get their laps back.
Yeah, these guys are going to be a lot faster than Matt Grenier right now. Those tires are a lot older for the 15 at this point than those guys. So he's just going to be falling back further and further, and you're going to see a lot of cars pass him, but nobody's going to be passing him for position until we see the number 21, if we even see the number 21 make that pass back on the track. So we're rocking with this Terry Labonte number 15 up at the front. You got a yellow. That is number 46 of Nick Mills. I saw the smoke just barely when we were watching with Matt Grenier, but wasn't too sure if it was a yellow or not. And yeah, that's a big save for Matt Grenier out at the front end of this field, having yet to pit, but unfortunate for Nick Mills.
Yeah, a lot of damage on the front end of the number 46 Mills Insurance Agency Chevrolet Camaro. Looking at the onboard as he made his way off of turn number 4, setting his sights into turn number 3 as he was closing in turn number 1, I should say, closing in on the number 55 CJ Mason coming off the corner. He had clipped the apron and he made contact with them, and those two go around and then just nosed it hard into the inside wall, and looks like he's gonna have to make a claim on that car, as that is a lot of damage done on the 46, as it's just hefty damage, and he might need to get some contact info from Mason about that. That is a very hard break for him early on in this race.
I gotta say, I thoroughly appreciate the insurance puns right there, Noah. But yeah, like you said, I mean, a tough break right here. Nick Mills trying to get it off the corner nicely and get down the inside of CJ Mason to keep moving forward and try to trek on, getting a couple points, and trek forward in the playoff championship. And yeah, you just see he just barely clipped the tail of the 55 out of turn number 2, and obviously sent those two sliding down into the inside wall. Tough break. Hopefully that car doesn't have too much internal damage. A little bit of cosmetic, and Nick Mills can keep charging on.
As now you see a lot of the field back down on pit road. Some drivers coming down. The only real one coming down is the number 15 of Matt Grenier. Even then, though, that's only going to leave 6 cars on the lead lap. So in reality, Matt Grenier is not going to lose that much, because now Ronnie Shirk Jr. is going to be the first car a lap down. Justin, there's a lot of noble names that are now back there as well. Justin Winters being one of them. Bryce Hunter is now stuck a lap down, along with Nathan Maurer and pretty much Jack Bauer. So a couple drivers now just stuck a lap down because of where they stand. Brandon Robertson was able to get his lap back after that early pit stop incident on pit road. He currently finds himself running up in 4th, as Ryan Kendall holds on to a strong 6th place finish, now in a very good spot to get some points here, as he looks to strengthen his possibility at a championship in his first season, as now we just await for the pace car lights to go out to give us another shot at the restart here to round out this first half.
Yeah, there are a couple of guys up there that are going to try to get some bonus points here in the midst of the stage to just kind of secure their spot in the playoffs moving forward. I think Ronnie Shirk Jr. is the one I look at the most, as you're seeing a lot of these guys coming down the pit road. Ronnie Shirk obviously came into this race 13th in the points, and if he could just get, he'd get 4 points if he finished in 7th place. So if you get finished 7th, you get 4 points. I mean, that's 4 points closer to being secured. And For Ronnie to be in this position right now, I think that's a really good break for him, and hopefully he can get those extra points and just keep trekking forward. Most of the other guys in the field right now, they're either pretty strongly in or they're completely in. I think Nick Noggle is going to benefit off of these bonus points. Obviously, Nick Noggle isn't quite guaranteed into it, but he's pretty far up in the playoff run. And you look back further, guys like Nathan Maurer, who were looking in from the outside, if he could put a couple more laps together and get that 97 machine past maybe Bryce Hunter, maybe Justin Winters, get a few under the belt, I think that's going to secure a lot better show out of him and get him that bit closer to getting into the playoffs.
Absolutely. So as now you look at the weather here in Darlington, South Carolina. Now looking at the air temp of 87, so a pretty warm day here in February with a track temp of 92 degrees. Some hefty winds blowing in from the west at 10 miles an hour. It was at 15 miles an hour. Apparently, you see it breaking down. So, but still a very breezy day here in the South in South Carolina. As now the wave arounds are going to take their lap back. So now move Scott Fritz as the first driver a lap down, as we are now 1-2 green, getting ready for another restart here on lap 68, as the field now down on the back straightaway, as you see the view here of the South Carolina region here as we look, you're set for another beautiful restart here.
Yeah, we're getting ready to go. You can see the minnow pond in the back left of your screen down there on this beautiful shot. And I was going to say 87 degrees sounds pretty nice right now. That's about 70 degrees warmer. Sounds about that's 70 degrees warmer than where it is right now. For me here in Indiana, we still got snow on the ground. So as we come back to the green, I know it seems a little warm, but the moment I'm living in, I'll be okay with 87 degrees right now. Green flag coming back out, though. We're back to racing again. John Kinder with a strong start, and somebody sliding off the bottom of turn number 4.
That looks to be the number 48 of Jack Bauer, looking just to get out of the way once again. But now the teammates of Lancaster and Kinder are going to drive it off into turn number 2 and set sails away from the rest of the field. And Matt Grenier, after coming on pit road, he sets in a strong third place as Brandon Robertson going to try and get around them as he goes around. Number 55 is CJ Mason. After having to pit, he followed behind quite a bit of a lot of the guys who took a wave around, now looking to get it by number 1 of Scott Fritz before he is able to start picking off some of the last of these drivers and actually go for the leaders also. And that name is Justin Winters, who's way back in the runnings, as a lot of these guys who had the top 10 speed now going to have to make their way around some of the slower traffic if they wanted to go either up for the lead or just to get their laps back.
As you say that, look at Brandon Robertson making that pass around Scott Fritz there. That 2 car is hooked up. We've talked about it before. He's pretty strong mostly everywhere we go, and he's doing so right now, running along pretty strongly. Nick Noggle in behind there. Made a couple passes, going to try to catch up to that 1 car as well and make that pass on the lap traffic. Nick Noggle is a short track guy, and while this is not a short track by any means, certainly drives in a way that I think somebody who maybe has experience on a high banks short track would benefit from. So watch for Noggle to know how to run these turns and get off them with some momentum and pull forward. I think slowly over time, Noggle showed already that he's got pace and he's got speed, but he can keep it underneath him. Hopefully he'll be able to make it a little dicey at the end and maybe fight for a win.
Yeah, but what he's going to need right now is a caution, because right now he's sitting about 3.5 seconds off the leaders already, and he doesn't have that much time left to try and charge up for possibly a stage when stuck behind quite a few drivers that are stuck a lap down, those being Scott Fritz, Wyatt Brackett, and then Brandon Robertson. And now you look at the number 46 of Nick Mills with that front bumper ripped off from the latest caution. He currently finds himself running back there in the 16th position. Closest driver he has to fight for position, that being Brian Terry, who's up at turn number 2. And now you look at Nathan Maurer, who's trying to size up on the number 9 car for the 8th spot, as he looks to go to the inside entering turn number 3, but thinks better of it as they're going to go single file.
Yeah, and the producer, Andrew, is up in here talking about the sun, and I want to mention that to you guys. I don't think it does justice to you. You see it on your screen right now, but the sunlight as they go down into turn number 3 is just brutal, and obviously that's going to be taking the focus and the ability to see off of the turn and the apex, and it's just going to be bright. You can't see. So driving into that turn, you definitely have to know your turn-in point and your braking zone if you want to be able to make it through the corner, because this track will eat you up if you don't. So you got to do your best to get your lines down, get into a rhythm, and try to avoid that bothering you. Right now, Nathan Maurer fell off a bit there. You saw that battle had kind of fallen away, but this one isn't falling away, and in fact, it's getting hotter right now. Brandon Robertson trying to make a run down the inside of Matt Grenier. Matt's going to easily let him through and just fall back to 4th spot. So for the time being, Brandon Robertson's going to adopt 3rd place from him, and they're going to trek forward with that. You're watching Justin Winters now in 6th spot, trying to catch up to McNoggle right there. You got a lap car in between them, but still trekking along to him.
As now they make their way back down into turn number 1. Quite a bit of traffic. He is currently almost 6 seconds off that of the number 21 of John Kender. He's going to make hard contact. He's going to lose quite a bit more time, as a lot of damage being done to the right side of the number 52 machine, as he leaves another stripe on the Darlington Raceway, as now he tries to rebound the ground to try and catch up to Nicholas Snuggle there for the 5th spot.
Yeah, that was a pretty significant hit there for Justin Winters. I don't think it's going to cause any major damage, but definitely some cosmetic damage, and the handling of that car might have been affected a little bit there. Tough break for Justin. He was just trekking along, trying to get to the end of the stage and maybe shape things up for a top 5 finish, but that's going to take it away from him, and for the time being, just going to be riding this one out. He's got Ronnie Shirk Jr. actually battling him, as this one has just gone through. Brandon Robertson did make quick work of the battle for 2nd as he passed Adam Lancaster easily, and you can see the number 2 car is just going to get the run and speed off into the distance from the front end of Lancaster's Ford. So Brandon Robertson's trekking on and trying to fight into that lead that John Kinder has right now, see if he can maybe get up there and fight for the end of the stage and get that stage win.
Yeah, he is really finding the pace right now, and he is doing whatever he can to try and catch up to his number 21 of John Kinder, now sitting at 2.4 seconds. He has quickly just worked his way through the traffic that he had to start through, and now with about only 5 or 6 laps left to try and catch up to John Kender. I don't know if it's going to be possible, but he is doing everything he can to try and take away that stage win, as John Kender is going to have to really try and pick up the pace as of right now, because he is really starting to lose that lead right now.
Yeah, and so this stage win would help with playoff points, which is something that these guys should be, well, have been thinking about the entirety of the season. But definitely Brandon Robertson thinking about that right now to try to get a couple points that'll help him in the playoffs, because obviously we start the playoffs next time we come out. So being in the position he is, he wants to try to get as many of those as possible and just secure better spots in future and secure some help moving forward in the playoffs. You're going to have a lot of great drivers racing in that 16 driver field to try to progress forward and win the championship. So if you can get a couple now, that'll help you out big time. Ronnie Shirk Jr. right now fighting with Justin Winters. That would be for 6th spot, and we know Winters kind of has some damage on the side, maybe a little bit of a wounded race car in him, but Shirk, either whether he knows it or not, he knows he's catching up to that 52 machine, and he's going to try to get around him with about 3 laps left in the stage to try to get some extra points. Oh, and as I say it, Adam Lancaster looking like he might get passed for 3rd. These cars are about to go 3 wide down the front stretch.
Yeah, very hard fight going on here between Adam Lancaster and Matt Grenier, with Wyatt Brackett right behind them, not really fighting for position, as he is actually, I believe, almost behind the leaders a lap down. He is 1 lap down, so he's just trying to fight to get his lap back. But regardless, he is really starting to make that fight for 3rd very much interesting, as he is not backing off these guys one bit. As Adam Lancaster is going to mess up the corner exit, they're going to go side by side, possibly off the turn number 4. He cannot get the run to make it happen, but still, he is right with them, as we are now at 2 to go here in the stage.
2 laps left for Adam Lancaster to try to hold back Matt Grenier. Grenier is way better on the middle of the corner, and look at the exit speed that Grenier got. You can see how close he got to Lancaster out of the exit at turn number 2. Down the inside he goes. They're side by side in turn 3. Lancaster seems to be having some trouble with that car right now, so Grenier's going to slide through pretty easily, and that one's going to get cleaned up. Bryce Hunter making a battle with Ronnie Shirk Jr. for the 7th spot as we trek towards the end of this one. Those two looking for more points to try to secure their spots in the playoffs. And Bryce Hunter's in pretty good shape right now, but any point helps, and just getting to the end of it in that top 16, that's what's important right now. But coming through for what should be the final time out of turn number 4 should be John Kinder taking the stage win here at Darlington.
And indeed he will. The caution flag will fly, so that will crown John Kinder the winner of the last stage of the regular season, as it looked like he might have put Nick Mills a lap down. No, Nick Mills barely hangs on, so he will stay one lap down back there in the 16th position. But Brandon Robertson will round out in second. Matt Grenier will take it home in the third, with Lancaster in fourth. Nicholas Nago will finish the stage in fifth. John Kinder in sixth, with Ronnie Shirk Jr. seventh, Bryce Hunter eighth, Nathan Maurer ninth, and Ryan Kendall will finish the stage in P number 10, as now we will possibly wait to get a word here with our stage winner here in the Bluegrass iRacing Series here at Darlington, as we get set for another round of pit stops.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to let these guys kind of reset, get back up to the pace car, do their pit stops and whatnot, and then after that we should be able to take John Kinder out of the hot seat for a quick second, get some insight from him. Some of those guys at the end of that one that benefited for sure off of the bonus points would have been guys like Noggle and like Ronnie Shirk. I think those were two guys in that top 10, and obviously and Nathan Maurer as well. Those three actually guys would be the ones that benefited the most off of these bonus points in this mid part of the stage. Those guys needed points, and they got a couple off that one as pit stops start off with John Kinder leading the way down. Brandon Robertson right behind him, as that 21 machine's going to be looking for his pit stall. Get that car shaped back up. Matt Grenier, Adam Lancaster, and Nick Noggle all following them down as well.
So now, as you see, a lot of the leaders who had pitted last time under green now going to bring it back down pit road to get ready for the second half of this race. Presumably, it should be John Kinder winning the race off pit road, as the last of the leaders, including just the winners, now going to bring it in. But man, what an absolutely dominating stage by John Kinder. He started off in the lead, and besides the few points where Matt Grenier had taken the lead to stretch out the stage, it looks like Matt Grenier had actually short pitted a little bit. He almost won the race off pit road, but it looks like he might have been able to come out in third, and Brandon Robertson will hold on to that second place. But man, just what a dominating performance by John Kinder early in this race.
Yeah, and there's actually a pretty good shape up of things changing on the running order there, as you see these guys all still sitting on pit road. Be Winters, Noggle, Barlow obviously still stuck in there, but these two have been sitting for a long time, as well as Adam Lancaster. So as Nathan Maurer comes out and passes them, I think that was a strategy call to maybe get some freshening up on these machines.
Yeah, very interesting for all four of these guys. I would not assume that this would be anywhere close to rate speeding on pit road, but regardless, a very interesting situation for all four of them. They will keep their laps, but luckily, because of how many cars are still on the lead lap, they will not lose that much, only falling back to as much as 12th, as CJ Mason is now going to be the last car on the lead lap. As now we're going to get a word here, possibly with our stage winner here, as we will bring him up into the booth. John, well, you've had a really strong 2 weeks, not able to get the win, and now here at Darlington, you win the final stage of the final season. How has it been for you tonight?
Not too bad. I really like this track. That caution kind of cut some people up. Didn't really want to see that, but we still got a long way to go. We'll see what happens.
Well, during those green flag runs, you'd come back out and you saw Matt Grenier up ahead of you. What was it like trying to get around him to get your lap back, and then trying to perform a whole nother lap to take away the lead?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I got back on the lead lap, so if the caution did come out, I wouldn't get trapped a lap down. But Matt seems to be able to stretch fuel mileage a long way, so that caution came out in perfect time for me. He was able to get back on sequence with us.
And now, as you get set here for the second half of the race, what is the strategy be once again to try and take home your first win of the season, as you look to get a good head start on the postseason?
Race the racetrack. It's a long way to go, and this place can bite you at any moment. So just gonna race the racetrack and see how it plays out.
All right, and then before I let you go here real quick, who do you have to thank here for your stage win?
Got to thank Rims One and Ghostface Brewery, Alex Huffman Designs, and Bluegrass iRacing Series for putting this event on, and you guys for broadcasting. I appreciate you guys.
All right, well, congratulations on the stage win. Good luck here in the second half, and hopefully we get a chance to talk to you here when things are done.
All right, I appreciate it.
All right, well, that's going to be an interview here for John Kinder as now he gets set for another exciting restart here to kick off the second half of tonight's action. Brandon Robertson now going to line up along his outside as Matt Grenier will assume the third spot, Ronnie Shirk Jr. in fourth, and now Bryce Hunter gets a chance to restart in fifth. The pace car making the dive onto pit road as we get ready to see the green flag come back out. Kinder going to get on the gas early, and he's going to have a very good jump on the field as they make the run into turn number one as Matt Grenier and Brandon Robertson will fight on for second.
I don't know what Robertson was doing. He might have slipped up a little bit there on that restart, but Grenier knew exactly when to go, and he got that pass in. That 15 car moves up into second spot over Brandon Robertson, but definitely don't count out the two machine quite yet. They're going all over the place back there. Nathan Maurer made a pass up into fifth spot. We got one still banging off the wall out of the exit of turn number 2. That's the number 13 of Ryan Terry, trying to get that car under control right now. Something definitely went awry with that car on the restart, but you're looking at the number 2 trying to put pressure on Matt Grenier. Brandon Robertson trying to get back up into second spot. The 2 on the side wants to keep 2 on the scoring pylon as he comes down the inside and down the back straight away. Brandon Robertson goes way low to get it around Matt Grenier and re-puts that car back up into second place. Ronnie Shirk Jr. going to look to get into that podium spot for the first time.
Ronnie Shirk very much quickly catching up to the number 15 of Matt Grenier, who is trying to get the widths back under him to continue the run to try and get back around his teammate Brandon Robertson, but still having to keep an eye on the number 7 car, who is really starting to mount another charge of his own. He was running out close to the end of the top 10, was then up in the top 5, and now was looking at a podium position with Nathan Maurer right behind him, which where Nathan Maurer is running right now, that is going to be very bad news for the number 18 of Gary Jaworski, who is trying to make his way into the playoffs. He currently sits not really able to do much within his hands to try and make a run for the playoffs 16 laps down, but he will have to do whatever he can to try and make sure this number 97 car doesn't make it, because right now running back there in the 5th spot, it is not looking too good for the 18 car.
Yeah, Maurer's definitely got a good car underneath him, and he knew coming in, he knew he had to do well to get that machine into the playoffs, and right now he's got it up in the top 5, and if he can trek forward, I think that would be a pretty darn good performance for him to try to break into that top 16, but obviously if one guy's going to go in, somebody else is going to fall out, so you just got to make sure you're not the guy falling out of the top 16 here in the last race of the regular season. You're looking at Justin Winters trying to put a pass on the number 9 of Bryce Hunter. That is for 7th spot. A little bit of love down the back straight away by Justin Winters. Look at Noggle sliding it in there. Oh, Noggle sends it in big time. Ronnie Shirk went way low in the middle of the turns. I'm not sure what went wrong with the number 7 machine, but at the same time, Noggle slid that car through there, got on the inside of Justin Winters, put it through, and now is going to look to the inside of Bryce Hunter, try to get that 08 car back up into the top 5. Bryce Hunter, the next one in his sights to try to get moving, as Justin Winters is going to try to shake things up with them again.
Yeah, very interesting moment there for the number 7 of Ronnie Shirk, who looked like he was just trying to get out of the way, but with that, he had Nathan Maurer chase him all the way down the back straightaway, and then we saw an almost very close call between the 52 and 08 as those two are fighting hard back there for the 7th position, as Justin Winters might not be too happy with the number 08 of Nicholas Noggle for that move. He was right on his tail pushing him into turn number 1 as those two are fighting hard there for the 7th spot with the number 9 of Bryce Hunter right in front of them. I guess his move right now, just get out of the way and get clear of these guys in case something breaks apart with these two, because Justin Winters is really forcing the issue to try and get back up to number 08 Toyota.
Yeah, this is a heck of a race right now on the track. Justin Winters still on the tail of Nick Noggle as they go into turn number 1 again. You're watching on the Kodak 08 machine as he's going to come out of turn number 2. Bryce Hunter right up there in front of them, so they could try to get back into the grasp of that number 9 machine. Down the back again, Ryan Kendall in there with them. So this is going to become a 3, maybe even a 4-car battle, as coming down the pit lane again is Nick Mills. That number 46 machine going to come get a little extra service on it and try to hook things up and get that car ready to go to continue forward. We're riding on board with Wyatt Brackett. He kind of got caught out by that caution late in the run that let Matt Grenier get so far up, but also took a lot of guys off the lead lap. He's trying to trek his way back up into it. He's just outside the top 10 as it currently stands. Barely can tell he's going into turn number 3 right there. He actually got a little bit of a clip of the outside wall going into the turn. And just like I said before, and like we've talked about all evening, that sun is going to do you wonders going into turn number 3. And for the time being, it's a tough thing to see and tough to know when to make that turn.
And now Justin Winters right on the back bumper of the number 08, trying to get the run down the corner, but has to check up to avoid turning him as now they make the run back into turn number 3. As he is right on him, you can see him have the run, but he just can't get the corner exit that he needs to get it done, as he is still stuck behind the number 08 Morgan McClure throwback as he makes the run back up into 1. Now catching up again to number 9 of Bryce Hunter there, curling running up in 6, as you can see all the way up to just about third or second with where those leaders are as they make it run back down the back straightaway, as Bryce Hunter is still just having a very, very good run solidly in 6 as he's seeing all of this break out in his mirror.
You see Justin Winters can get through the middle of the turn a little bit better than Noggle can. That lets him catch up to the bumper, but as they go down the straightaways, the 08 gets that gap back in between them. Seems like it's a vicious cycle right now that Justin Winters is going to try to break and maybe see if we're going to have a shakeup with Ryan Kendall in behind those two as well. But for the time being, I think the middle of the corner is where that 52 has the advantage. So if he can make a run into the entrance and just get through the middle better than the 08, that would get Justin Winters through. And as they come down the front stretch again, you're riding on board with Brandon Robertson. He's in second place. The car ahead is John Kinder. So one of, if not the first driver this evening to actually keep John Kinder in their sights as they run through these laps. Brandon Robertson barely hanging on, about a second in between the two. But as they go down the back, you can see on your screen the gap is getting bigger and bigger. So right now, John Kinder just trekking through a lot of really good laps as we just passed lap 100. Still looking forward to the end of this one, as Lancaster was the car we're on board with, as him and Maurer both hit the outside of turn number 4.
A lot of these guys are trying to wrestle these cars around these turns to try and keep them all the way up on the wall, but keep them out of the wall. As you see Lancaster trying to fend off the 97 of Nathan Maurer there for the 4th spot, which is exactly what Maurer wants. If he can get a 4th place finish here tonight, then I would assume that's going to all but guarantee him a spot in the playoffs after tonight, because he just had a very, very strong race. We haven't really been able to talk about him much running up here on the top half. He's been a top 10 contender, but has just not been able to have some of the races that he had last season. But tonight might be a good case to see why he could be a dark horse for a championship contender, because right now he is really putting on the pressure to 28 and forcing his mistakes, as he is going to be right on the back bumper. Looks like Lancaster might just give him the position, as he's going to take the long way around. So will Bryce Hunter. So now Bryce Hunter now going to move his way up into the 5th position. So a very, very good run for those two as they make their way off of turn number 4.
Yeah, Bryce Hunter has had some shine-out performances this season, but on ovals hasn't quite had it be there. Right now, he's trekking with Maurer. Those two are in 4th and 5th, and maybe Bryce Hunter could even make that pass and get up one spot further. You're looking at Justin Winters right now, as Nick Noggle has fallen back behind them. So Winters and Kendall starting to make a little bit of a race in between each other for 7th and 8th place, but you're riding on board with Nick Noggle, who has fallen considerably back from those two machines. Justin Winters and Ryan Kendall are those two cars further up the road, you can see, but for something that has happened, and Nick Noggle has fallen back a significant margin off those two, still trying to trek on in 9th place and maybe get it underneath him to try to catch back up to those two.
I was actually watching that battle when you guys were looking up there towards Brandon Robertson. Winters was just finally able to get it there on the inside and get around him, and Ryan Kendall just followed suit and was able to clear him. So that's why he was able to fall back. So the pace is really starting to fall off to the pace of number 08 Toyota Camry. Now looking back up here with the fight for Wyatt Brackett, as he's doing what he can to try and keep pace with the number 7 of Ronnie Sherky Jr. That is a fight for a top 10 position, as well as the last place on the league lap as they make their way down into 1 and 2. Now looking back up ahead, as Nathan Maurer going to dive all the way to the inside. He's going to let Bryce Hunter now take away the 4th position. So as he's going to get all the way up on the wall, so he got the position given to him, and he still overdrives the corner entry and puts it up into the outside wall, as we are now back entering the pit window here for what will set you up for the last green flag pit stop of the race. As you look back towards Justin Winters, now the question is going to be, when will the leaders come in? John Kinder has been a driver that has come in very early lap for each of these pit windows, so it'll be very interesting to see where he brings it in, as well as a driver like Matt Grenier to see if he might try and pull another pit strategy to stretch this fuel run out.
Yeah, we've had a pretty good amount of time with green flag runs, as Nick Noggle and Scott Fritz seem to both get up into the turn 3 wall right there. We've had a lot of green flag stops, a lot of opportunities for different strategies to start playing out. Wyatt Brackett decided to take the low line through 3 and 4 right there. Something must have happened to the 33 machine. We'll catch a replay here of why he was coming off of the bottom of the turn 3 and 4 area. And we're going to get this up for you. So we're riding into turns 1 and 2 right now, just behind Ronnie Shirk, trying to fight into the top 10. We saw this earlier on. That fight was still going on, but wasn't really shaping up into much as they come out of turn number 2. Oh, big time into the wall on the outside of turn number 2 for White Bracket. Even got down into the inside wall as well. So the 33 machine got up way too high in turn number 2, hit the wall, slid down, and then maybe he was trying to get it woed down to get into the pits. Yeah, so he did downshift in the middle of the corner. Maybe he was getting it woed down, or maybe he was just trying to get the car back underneath him. Nonetheless, it took him time to get back up to speed, and by the end of it, we caught him on the end of it, got back for the replay, saw what happened, but White Bracket definitely going to put some damage on that car hitting the wall that hard.
My best guess on what that scenario would have been was he hit the wall and he was very slow going into turn number 3, and he knew that if he came back up, he would have been in a very bad position if someone caught him. So he was just trying to keep it out of the way and then just free join the racetrack down the straightaway where you could get the car back up to speed regardless. He loses a lot of time to number 7 of Ronnie Shirk and will hold on to that 11th spot. Now looking back up ahead to the number 68 of Ryan Kendall running in the 6th position, trying to fend off Adam Lancaster, as both those guys locked into the playoffs. Ryan Kendall locked in on points, and Adam Lancaster locked in with his win back in New Hampshire. So both those guys just trying to get some points to strengthen their championship hopes starting next week at Bristol. And then be aware, because next week they actually head off to Talladega Super Speedway. So that'll be a very interesting scenario once after we head to Bristol, as they now get ready for another round of green flag pit stops. Now looking on board with number 97, Nathan Maurer.
Yeah, so we're just kind of trekking along here, trying to get to the end of this run and see when those guys want to come in, get tires, get fuel, get to the end of this race. The sun is bad. It's just bad into turn number 3 right there. You saw with Nathan Maurer how hard it's going to be to hit your marks and get that apex down. One guy who's been doing a very good job of that, though, is John Kinder, as we've just occasionally just checked in on our homeboy out at the front end of the field. John Kinder is trekking on and gone from the front of the field. 2.5 seconds to the number 2. How many times can I say 2 in a sentence? Brandon Robertson is losing time considerably to John Kinder. It seems like John's got the car underneath him throughout the entirety of the run, as a lot of these guys fall off a little bit at the end of their tire stints. John Kinder seems to know how to get that car to run at the ending of that one as we come into the pits with the number 28 of Adam Lancaster. He's going to be the first one down pit road, as Nick Noggle is going to follow, and maybe some others sometime.
So now this will set them up for their final green flag pit stop of the race, as they have one left after this. Now looking on board with Ronnie Shirk Jr. surrendering the 8th position to make the drive down pit road. Wyatt Brackett is going to choose to stay out and take over the 8th position. Justin Winters as well going to stay out, as well as Ryan Kendall. Nathan Maurer now taking it down to pit lane as he makes his way and backs it down to the 45-mile-an-hour pit speed to make the long drive down pit road out of turn number 4, as now we are seeing more and more of these leaders make their green flag pit stops. Looks like John Kinder is going to follow suit as well, as he's slow coming off of turn number 3.
And bringing in the number 21 machine, John Kinder going to woe it down, get to pit lane speed. Pretty easily done. Bryce Hunter going to follow now. That number 9 machine has a strong run so far tonight. Very good stuff out of Bryce Hunter. Ryan Kendall coming down the pit lane, another driver who's got a good car underneath him. For this one, you're looking, Nathan Maurer was in his pit box. Wyatt Brackett's going to be pulling into his next. The driver of the number 1 machine, Scott Fritz, also down the pit road. So like as happened before, kind of just a revolving door at the front end of the pit lane to try to get all these drivers through to get ready for their final stint to the checkers. Brandon Robertson has stayed out on the track so far. He is the race leader. Matt Grenier, Justin Winters have also stayed out. They run 2nd and 3rd, but at the time being, John Kinder is going to be up at the top of the scoring pylon of those guys who came through the pits so far. So we're going to have to see how everything cycles out when Brandon Robertson actually decides to come to pit road.
Justin Winters as well now coming down pit road to make his next pit stop. So he will surrender the 3rd place position now to what will be John Kinder when he comes back around, as now there's only 2 of the leaders left who have yet to take their pit stop, and that will be the number 2 of Robertson and 15 of Grenier. Grenier we should expect to possibly try and stay out a couple more laps depending on how much fuel that car has since that last caution came out, as the gap almost about a 5-second gap. So they don't really have to worry too much about racing each other, just as much as trying to get these laps in to their next pit stop. So now it's just going to be a matter of Brandon Robertson just trying to lead these laps and keep it off the wall as he still opts to stay out to complete lap 118.
Yeah, one thing that you got to think about with Brandon Robertson and McInerney right now, they have to run clean laps. They have to not get caught up in traffic. You do not make any mistakes on their own, because if you make a mistake right now, I mean, you're just going to lose time exponentially to the guys that have pitted, and you're trying to, in some way, shape, or form, get back around with some strategic move. And you don't want to kill that chance that you have right now and make a mistake on your own or get caught up in traffic. So Brandon Robertson's definitely going to be putting some focus on this car right now and trying to get off the corners clean, get down the straightaways quickly, and trek through these laps before he comes down to the pit lane, relinquishes that lead, and gets set up to get to the finish of this race. Should be interesting to see how long he spends on pit lane and whether he comes out in front of John Kinder or not. Right at the time being, John Kinder is getting some really good laps in with the fresher car, but Brandon Robertson's going to show us what's going down as he comes down the pit lane this time.
Matt Grenier as well is signaling that he is going to make his way down. So now John Kinder should assumably take over the race lead as he makes his way to turns 3 and 4 right now, trying to get it down to that 45 mile an hour. Grenier very, very close to getting it done as he was very hot getting into pit road. He should be all right as now he makes his way down through these empty stalls as they get set to see the first few stalls of the field, as now John Kinder is going to possibly take back the race lead as he is currently blazing down the back straightaway into turn number 3.
Yeah, so as he's coming into turn number 3 right now, Brandon Robertson pulls into his pit box. You can see the 2's got his right side up. That's going to be fresh tires on the outside. And the left sides go up as well. So 4 tires for Brandon Robertson. John Kinder easily passes the 2 machine and will trek forward as the race leader. Brandon Robertson's going to come out of the pits with some fresh tires, though. That might be something to talk about as they get closer and closer to the end of this race, having that fresh rubber on the sides. Definitely going to let that 2-car speed it up, but for the time being, John Kinder is going to be controlling it up at the front end of the field. The Rims 1 Mustang going to lead us back again on through lap 121's completion onto lap 122.
So back up at the top of the standings will be the number 21 Rims 1 Ford Mustang Ghostface Brewing Company Ford Mustang, as now he corners off of turn number 2, now holding on to a 5.5 second lead over his teammate, the number 28 Nathan Maurer. I'm going to take over the 3rd spot as Ryan Kendall falls back, moves up to 4th. And how about Nicholas Nago rebounding to 5th after the pit stops? So something might have happened to Justin Winter as he has fallen all the way back to the 8th position, now working his way through lap traffic. So he lost a couple spots, not only to Bryce Hunter, but also Nicholas Nago. So that's a very interesting scenario, as he might have had a slow pit stop while bringing you down pit road, or maybe trying to get some damage repaired to the side of that 52 Allen's Body Shop Camaro as he blazes it down into turn number 1.
Yeah, so it's just been ups and downs for Justin Winter. I think that's a way to describe the whole season for him, but we're watching Ryan Kendall right now trying to move forward from 4th spot, which is one of the high points of his day. Ryan Kendall's been trekking on and doing pretty consistent runs inside the top 10, but hasn't quite broken into the top 3 yet. Nathan Maurer has just done so, and that number 97 is all on, as the afterburners are evidently on for Ryan Kendall. He got up into the top side wall in 1 and 2, trying to run that car as quickly as possible through those sets of corners and trek back up to the driver in the sim box, number 97 of Nathan Maurer, try to get into the top 3. Maybe we'll talk to him at the end of the race, but for the time being, Maurer is holding on to 3rd. Adam Lancaster and John Kinder have a very controlling setup on the front end of the field, as there goes Brandon Robertson with the fresh tires down the inside of Ryan Kendall. You can see the pace difference between the 2 and the 68.
And down the field, brings it back down towards turn number 2 with the run up as he tries to do what he can to close the gap in to the number 97 of Nathan Maurer, with Brandon Robertson now splitting the 2. Let's just take a quick chance to thank our partners here at PitStop TV. Quickly want to give a shout out to Tucson Sound Art, your picture, your music. Use code PitStop TV at checkout for 10% off your wall-mounted sound art device today. By Race Pace, pick up pace with Race Pace, a community-driven setup shot and driver development program. By Permanent Makeup in Maine, you deserve the best care money can buy. And by Whiplash Media, the official graphic and camera provider of Pit Stop TV. He's still looking high above the Darlington Raceway here in Darlington, South Carolina. Now looking at Brandon Robertson, who has officially passed Nathan Maurer to put himself back up into the third spot. He is now 3 seconds off the pace of Adam Lancaster. As you see their race info, currently 3 cautions for 11 laps with a total of 11 lead changes. Almost possibly could have been a 4th caution, as Robertson very quickly catching up to the rear end of the 13 of Robertson, or of Brian Terry. And then the weather, 87.5 degrees outside, still a very, very warm day here in South Carolina. Partly cloudy skies with a track temp of 93 degrees. As the wind, you see quickly picking up almost 2 miles an hour, up to 14 miles an hour coming in from the west. So again, a very gusty day here in the South Carolina area as they make their way off of turn number 2, looking at the number 21 of John Gander, who has just been on a Wednesday drive here at the Darlington Raceways. He's just had a very easy race, leading over 100 laps here tonight.
I liked how you said Wednesday drive instead of Sunday drive, but it's definitely a easygoing run for John Kinder up at the front. He's just been having a really strong and solid race. He hasn't had any trouble from anybody around him, so he hasn't had to really push that hard. He hasn't had to worry too much. He's just kind of been hitting his marks, running his rhythm. I do think that the interesting part that we haven't really talked about is the wind. I think the wind adds a completely separate dynamic to how these drivers are going to race this track. And while it's its own challenge in its own, being the shape that it is we see a pass for second now shaped up with Brandon Robertson making his way around Adam Lancaster. I think the wind might be affecting the way these cars handle, and it would be something that could be challenging some of these guys. But you can see Brandon Robertson, it didn't affect him enough at least to not make that pass. And right now, Nicholas Noggle got a little bit high out of 3 and 4, let Bryce Hunter catch right back up to him. These two fighting for 6th spot down the front stretch.
Now you see the fight bring on into turns 1 and 2 as Bryce Hunter trying to size up that number 08 of Noggle as they make their way down the back straightaway. Much of the same situation that Justin Winters found himself in, was able to get the run to close it in on corner exit, but just was not able to get around him as Noggle very much backs it up in the middle of the corner, and that just ruins the momentum that Bryce Hunter had on corner entry to have any shot of getting around him, as he still just finds himself stuck back there in the 7th spot trying to do whatever he can to get around him. But all this is really going to do is let Justin Winters catch up to these two.
Yeah, that's a great point. Justin Winters is definitely going to... Oh, boy, you scared me there, Bryce. Justin Winters definitely going to be catching back up to those two as they fight. But Bryce Hunter definitely going to try to be making that pass. You saw how much he was trying to do so. And in 3 and 4, Noggle goes all the way up to the top side. Bryce looked low, didn't quite get there. You see Justin Winters making moves behind them around the outside of Tyler Reed, the lapped car. Behind him, Matt Grenier is not a lapped car, though. Matt Grenier giving some pressure to that 8th spot. With that 15 car, the Kellogg's Cornflakes throwback, trying to make his way to the Allen's Body Shop car. They might go side by side back there. Noggle holding on still temporarily to Bryce Hunter, as Matt Grenier actually does make that pass. So surprise, surprise, we got the 15 back into 8th spot. As now side by side up in front of him is Bryce Hunter, making his way down the inside of Nicholas Noggle, going to try to complete that pass here in turn number 1 and take full control of 6th spot.
Now I'm making my way off of turn number 2, and you're talking about the heavy wind blowing off to the west here with the way this track sets. Oh, very hard contact. That's what I'm about to talk about. The way this track sets, the wind blowing to the west, that is blowing them down the back straightaway up into towards turn number 3. So that should be making him a little bit loose off of turn number 4. You see him getting loose there, but that might have been the thing that's pushing him up into the wall with how heavy this wind is. So very much, like you said, affecting the handling of these cars as they're just heavily struggling trying to get these things off the corner, as he is falling way down the running order back down into 7th as he's trying to hold on to that car, but it's just not having a fun time of doing it.
Yeah, and Matt Grenier just caught right up to Nick Noggle. These two running throwbacks here in Throwback Weekend at Darlington. Celebrate that one, but oh boy, there went Matt Grenier down to the inside. Those two both got a little squiggly wiggly out of turn number 4 and almost went side by side. Didn't quite get it that time, but Grenier's going to try to run it off of turn number 2 again, get down the inside of Nick Noggle. Noggle's closing the door, doesn't quite get through, goes Grenier, and that momentum is going to let Noggle stay in front as they go down the way to turn 3. Finally, the the sun has broken the crest of the horizon, and they don't have to worry as much about that glare into turn number 3. That should let them get these last 40 laps in without any trouble, or at least trouble from the sun.
I wouldn't really say it's gone over the crest. What you can see there is actually thanks to the wonderful media center off there in turn number 3, as you can see the press box of the Dale Earnhardt Tower. It has just luckily blocked the sun, so that's what's helping these guys been able to set off into turn number 3 with no concern there of having to use a sun tear-up that we see drivers constantly use as they make their way off of turn number 4. As now looking at the onboard of Nathan Maurer, trying to catch up to Adam Lancaster here to take away a 3rd spot, as Lancaster going to back it off and just let him go on by, as he's just not going to put up the fight there, as now he might lose the 4th spot. And TD will, as they actually make contact, as Adam Lancaster is instead going to bring it down pit road, but now he has a couple extra seconds of damage to worry about as well, as he got a pretty hefty hit there from number 68.
Yeah, Lancaster looked like he got the exit of turn 2 a little wrong there, and it caught him out, and he had to let Maurer through because Maurer had a lot of momentum, but Kendall caught up too, and I don't know if he had expected the 68 machine to get up there with him or not, but evidently he got there. No, big trouble for Nathan Maurer in the middle of 1 and 2. He got up into the wall. He's going to lose 1, 2 spots. There goes another car. Justin Winter's going to get through. So Maurer's having some pretty significant trouble right now. Might come down the pit lane to get that squared away, but not what he needed. He's trying to trek up into the playoffs, trying to get a good finish out of tonight's race. And for that to happen, it's not what he needed.
Not when he's happened at all, as he's going to lose quite a bit of time coming down pit road. I'm going to be wondering now how much is going to affect the run to the checkered flag, as we are now just a little under 30 laps to go. Now looking at Adam Lancaster, who's going to have to race off pit road alongside Brian Terry as he takes the under. Now you're looking at Wyatt Brackett as well, bringing in for those 4 tires. So these are all these drivers' final pit stops. Here comes Nicholas Noggle and Justin Winters. So it looks like the first few of the final round of pit stops here for tonight's race at Darlington are now underway, as now you're going to see a little bit of the drivers running up in the top 10, bring it down. Nathan Maurer now off and away off the jacks. So now the eyes are going to be on John Kennedy to see when he brings it down.
You're on board with the number 1, Scott Fritz, going to be bringing it through, and these guys are just getting their cars set and ready to trek to the finish of this race. Under 20 laps to go in this one. John Kinder is coming down into the inside of 3 and 4. Going to try to carry as much momentum as he can into the entrance without hitting pit lane speed and getting a penalty. That would incur a bad end to his day that he's been having such a good run with so far. Kinder comes down, trying to get the number 21 Rims 1 Ghostface Brewing car ready to trek towards the finish. And as everybody else is going to cycle through, hope that he can get back up to the front and hold on to that lead. You're looking at Ryan Kendall still sitting still on the inside of the pit lane. A couple other guys had come in. Brandon Robertson retains the race lead. He has yet to come through the pit lane. Bryce Hunter and the car in front of him is Tyler Reed. Those guys sitting still right there, getting some fresh tires on those machines. John Kinder got that first pit box from being the pole sitter as Adam Lancaster goes fastest. His teammate, he does get a little bit of service on this 21, but should be out and away fairly soon, get the left sides on as well. And then the number 21 will get to drive away, and we'll see how this one shakes out as the rest of them come through the pit lane. Brandon Robinson leading the way right now down the back stretch. I don't think he's going to commit this time.
It's resuming the race lead with John Kinder taking it down pit road. That now puts the number 2 up to the front of the field as Brian Terry gets very loose up to number 4 to let some of the field go by there. Now catching up to the 51 of Casey Barlow into turn number 1. Casey Barlow, after having sat on pit road for quite a bit, he fell from about the 5th place position to 56 laps down in 19th. So now he is just going to ride this way home to the checker flag and worry about Bristol in a week's time, as he's just doing whatever he can. So something had to go on with the number 51 machine. We still don't know the reason for the sitting on pit road for as long as he did, but that very much took him out of any chance of having a good race here tonight. As now you look at Nicholas Noggle taking his lap back, Bryce Hunter next to take his lap back as well, and then Justin Winters in the 52 will try to get the pass done, as now Justin Winters is going to try and capitalize on the checkup there and take another spot while also taking the lap back, as Casey Barlow going to dive out of the way on the pit road. But we're seeing a lot of these guys fighting for position. Here we go, and now the caution is going to come out. So not only is that going to make it a very interesting scenario for the rest of this race, but keep this in mind as you see Brian Terry now. It looks like he might have actually conked that motor as you see the big plume of smoke coming out of the rear end as the pace car brings it off of turn number 2, as that is a lot of damage.
Yeah, that car has got a lot of damage, going really slow down the back, and everybody's taking evasive action to try to get around it. We'll pull up that official PitStop TV replay, see what happened, unfortunately, to end Brian Terry's run right here. Put that car in the wall. You're riding on board down the front straight away. The number 13 gets into turn number 1 pretty okay. Stays to the bottom of the apex. Interesting move by the driver. And as he comes out of turn number 2, he just got that apex all wrong out of it. And my dad always told me when I was younger, trying to teach me the ways of motorsports and the ways of racing, you apex too soon, you run out of room. Obviously, or the room being the exit of the corner. And in that case, Brian Terry ran out of room on the top side. So a tough break for him. He was running at the tail of the field, but still trekking along through the course of this race, just trying to get to the checkered flags. And that is not the way you want to end this race and end your regular season.
And with that, that'll bring us back under the safety of the pace car, and a very interesting scenario playing out. Brandon Robertson, I'm not sure if this is true enough, my iRacing is lying to me, but it looked like he pitted under a closed pit. The red light was still on pit entry, so he might actually have pitted under a closed pit. And if he does, that'll move him to the rear of the line. So he will either start at the rear of the lead lap or be all the way back there outside the top 15. And then you look at the onboard and you can see right there, there is the red light still on, and he did indeed pit under a closed pit. So that will move him to the end of the longest line, depending on where that is. And that's going to really make this restart interesting to see what he can do. As you see there, still going, and it never ever flashed green there.
That is absolutely a tough break, and that's not the type of thing you want to do when you're trying to win a race. Tough stuff for Brandon Robertson, obviously trying to get that car fixed up and ready to go to the finish, but definitely not the right move, and in the end he gets into the pit lane while it's still red, so that's going to be a penalty and a tough break for him. But the rest of the field behind him should be able to take those spots back and benefit from that, which is tough to see.
Yeah, as now we're going to try and get a word here with the number 2 of Brandon Robertson. Well, Brandon, you've had a very strong run here tonight. This caution, obviously not what you want to see here. How is this going to affect your race here to the end?
This is exactly what I was hoping for. That's the only way we were going to get in front of John Kinder. So yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing here.
Well, with that now being said, you're going to have to try and keep that 21 Rims 1 Ford Mustang behind you. What is the game plan going to be to do that, as Kinder has just been really fast here for this entirety of this race?
Oh man, I don't know. He's faster, that's for sure. The only way, I mean, he had the pit strategy figured out, and I just was throwing a Hail Mary. Whatever he was going to do, I was going to do the exact opposite. So we got lucky with the caution. We got the lead here, and we'll see what happens.
All right, before I let you go here to get set here for this next restart, who do you have to give a shout out to for how your race has gone here tonight?
Just the Bluegrass iRacing series for putting this on. It's definitely, I've been sweating bullets this whole race, so it's been fun.
All right, well, good luck here for the final, about to say 20 or so more laps, and hopefully we get a chance to talk to you here at the end of this race.
Excellent. That sounds like a plan.
All right, well, that's going to be your current race leader, Brandon Robertson, holding it strong up here at the point at the front of the field. And that does bring up a good idea that I didn't realize with where he was sitting. With where he was at the moment of caution, the only person I believe left on a lead lap was him. I think John Kinder was stuck a lap down. So for him, the end of the line would have been where he was currently sitting. So I'm not sure how that whole played out, but regardless, he still holds on to the race lead with Matt Grenier laying it up in second as the pace car lights are off, as the field is very much in an interesting scenario. So it'll be interesting to see how much this affects the field, as the only driver on the outside is that number 15 of Matt Grenier. So this is going to be a very interesting restart, as Robertson has a half a second lead to John Kinder, who's behind Casey Barlow, as the yellow is back out, as the admins obviously did not want this to be the restart. So we will go an extra few laps to try and rebunch the field, as if you saw how that was, it was basically going to be Brandon Robertson and Matt Grenier on the front row, and then just the rest of the leaders where to go.
Yeah, so right now they're having a little bit of trouble getting everybody lined back up in their proper positions and getting those lap cars sorted out and everything. Get them ready to go for another restart, but it will give these guys a little bit of time to get their heads on straight, think about what they want to do off this restart, the strategy to get to the end. Obviously, Brandon Robertson and Matt Grenier at the front end looking pretty good at that spot. Still wondering about what was going down with Brandon Robertson with that pit stop. Obviously, it was under red flag conditions, red lights on the entrance to the pit lane. We actually, John Kinder is like fallen off of the back a little bit of the field back there, falling to the tail right now, at least. Not sure what's going on with the 21 machine as these guys come through. There's a lot of lap cars involved in this too, so they're going to have to get those guys sorted out and put the lap cars in their respective positions. But things getting a little squirrely here. They're trying to line them back up side by side for a green flag, and the green might be coming out this time. Single file down on the bottom. We got one car up on the top side as the green flag comes back out, and they set them loose here on the lap 152.
And now that is very much going to affect it for John Kinder, who was at the very tail end of the field. Now it was a half a second. He sees Scott Fritz up in the wall. Now Kinder has to close in a 4.4 second gap and close in the leaders. All that with about 20 or more laps left. You see this entire field ahead of him, as that is going to really hurt the chances of a win here for John Kinder as Robertson sets sights and is opening that race lead.
And we talk about this almost every week now. It's just what happens that John Kinder's run gets taken away from him. And unfortunately, this one is going to be him sent back to the tail on this late race restart. He can try to trek up through, and if we get maybe a green-white checkered attempt or two, could put that 21 back up towards the front. But for the time being, he's got a lot of ground to make up. Ryan Kendall, the next car in line in front of him, now makes the pass down the inside of David Brackett. He's trying to trek through and catch up as well, but right now, John Kinder sitting in 5th spot as they're getting up to where Brandon Robertson is in 1st, running the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, and he's almost about a 10th off of what Kinder's pole time was, so he is really starting to pick up the pace as he realizes just how much of a good chance he has of winning this race. Now getting around the lap traffic of David Brackett as they make their way down the back straightaway, setting it up for turn number 3. The next car in line that he can pass is the number 68 Ryan Kendall, which is the next car on the racetrack in front of him. Then in front of him will be the number 1 of Scott Fritz, running up in 11th. So that restart it's a very interesting restart that is really much only coming down to the fact of iRacing trying to set the field as fast as they can with a computer beside lead, not really able to do much. So that just really bunched up the entire field. But if there's only one person that was happy to see that, it would have been Brandon Robertson. And you can just see how much of a gap he has to the teammate Matt Grenier right behind him in the 15. That was about a 1.1 second gap to set it off into turns 1 and 2. So those are the only two guys that might have been happy to have seen the field get bunched up as much as it was, as right now Robertson finds himself in a very, very good place to possibly get a win here tonight as he gets ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, he's just off and away up at the front of this one. Matt Grenier running in 2nd place very strongly. Adam Lancaster sitting in 3rd, pretty good too. But yeah, Robertson's just gone off the front. A yellow flag would probably be the only way that Grenier would be able to get back up there in due time with the way these two are running right now. Brandon Robertson's trying to get playoff points, trying to get wins, and we've talked to him in the past few weeks about finally breaking back through and getting another win on the season. This is the type of run that you need, and the lucky break that is also needed to get to this point. Obviously, John Kinder had pretty significant control of this race up until that caution. He got around Ryan Kendall, so John Kinder puts himself back into the 4th spot and actually has 3rd place Adam Lancaster right in front of him. So John's going to try to see if he can get back around his teammate in that Ford in front and try to trek forward towards Grenier. Maybe even get into a little bit better position for a possible later race caution. As I was saying that, they got really close there onto the entrance of the back straightaway, but for the moment, John Kinder trying to trek up into 3rd spot.
Now going to try and get around on the outside. Lancaster will just get off the gas and let him go by as he was trying to get around Wyatt Brackett on the inside, but just couldn't get the run done. And rather than get into his teammate, he's going to let it go by, as now he's going to set it to try and get around to number 33, who struggles to do so. He's going to stay side by side with him as he makes his way off of turn number 2 and does, in fact, clear him as Wyatt Brackett hard into the wall. Kendall going to avoid him, and now they're going to go side by side as Nicholas Nagel will take away the 5th position from Ryan Kendall, who had to try and avoid all that. Now John Kinder putting some scrapes up against the outside retaining wall, as you're looking at about a 3 to 4 car fight there for the podium position as they set off into turn number 1 and 2, as they all have about an 8-second gap from your race leader Brandon Robertson.
Nick Noggle came on like a thunderstorm there, and he's got Adam Lancaster in his sights. This 08 machine down the back once more, trying to trek into the 4th spot right now. Got a lot better entry that time than Adam Lancaster and ran right up to the edge of that wall. Didn't get into it though, still charging on. That battle still shaping up. John Kinder, meantime, got a nice little break from Ronnie Shirk, letting him go down the outside rather to get around him and try to trek forward 2 guys on the lead lap and catch up to them. As you look behind him, Ronnie Shirk's going to get out of the way and let 3rd, 4th, and 5th through as well. So you've got Lancaster, you've got Noggle, you've got Ryan Kendall, all right there together. Almost contact from Noggle to Lancaster. Lancaster got up into the wall, but retains the speed and stays in 4th spot. Ryan Kendall gave a little bit of a shove to Noggle down the front stretch, but into turn number 1, they go side by side again. 5 laps about left in this one, and they're shaping things up with a nice little battle between Kendall and Noggle for 5th place.
And they're going to go side by side, way close to each other on the exit of turn number 2. Nicholas and Noggle will clear him for the 5th position. As look at Scott Fritz, and I believe that was, I'm trying to see who that was, as Ronnie Shirk, both all the way diving to the inside. I'm not sure what that was. They get it back up on the racetrack, very close to the rest of the field, as they're still just trying to run these laps down to the end of the race. I thought we might have just saw a caution breakout with how low and sharp they made that angle in turn number 3, but now you're looking at a very hard-fought position for a top 5, as Nicholas Noggle trying to fend off a fast Ryan Kendall, who's had a very strong run here tonight to keep that 68 clean, and he looks to be in the best position to maybe take it away.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised because Noggle really got that speed and caught up to Ryan Kendall on his own, but now that they've gotten to where each other are, and obviously Nick Noggle made that pass, Kendall's been holding on pretty well, so I'm wondering what's going on with Noggle if he just used that car up trying to catch up to these guys. Oh, that's contact on the inside wall. That's Justin Winters down there. He made contact with the inside of the back straightaway wall right there, getting that car back up to speed. We stay green for the time being, so we're still good to go on the green flag run. Justin Winter's going to come down the pit lane now and get that car service. Tough break for him to end this race off. About 2 laps to go, though, for Brandon Robertson up at the front end. No trouble for him from that incident with Justin Winters. And as he comes down through 3 and 4 again, Brandon Robertson's got a little bit of a trek to go to get to the checkered flag for this one.
2 laps left here, and the only thing that's going to keep Brandon Robertson from taking home the checkered flag will be a late race caution. We almost saw it there, possibly just the Winters, but he's able to get it going and bring it to pit road and avoid that yellow flag. So now down the back straightaway they go, about a 1.5 second gap to his teammate Grenier, back in second with Kinder, who is going to have to deal with another heartbreaking loss to take a win away from him. That's something that was out of his control. Now coming out of turn number 4 for the final time, he will see the white flag. 1 more lap to go for Brandon Robertson.
Down into turn number 1 he will go, as into turns 3 and 4 go Ryan Kendall and Noggle. Holy cow, Noggle got up into the wall hard there at the end of turn number 3 into turn number 4. This fight is still shaping up really nicely for 5th spot. Kendall's got a good run, doesn't quite get there on him, but as we go into turn number 3 for the final time, Brandon Robertson has no trouble behind. Just get through 3 and 4 cleanly and you got yourself a checkered flag, my friend.
Off of turn number 4, he, like he said, he was thankful that caution came out and is going to give him what he needs. Brandon Robertson is going to see the checkered flag and win it here at Darlington and win the final race of the regular season, as here is the drag race for the top 5. Looks like Nicholas Noggle is going to be able to hold it off. Noggle takes home 5th. Ryan Kendall is going to have to deal with a 6th place finish, as that is going to do it here for Darlington, as the rest of the field just going to have to bring it home and settle for position they can, as Bryce Hunter will be the first car to bring it home a lap down in the 7th position, as the rest of the top 10 makes their way through.
The 3rd win of the season for the number 2 machine. Brandon Robertson brings it around to the front stretch to burn it down. Matt Grenier came home 2nd. He actually was starting to catch up to his teammate at the front there at the very end of this one, but obviously didn't have enough time to get there. John Kinder did trek up back to 3rd place, so put the afterburners on to get that far up as well. Good run from him, but Brandon Robertson put on a class show, got a little bit of luck there at the end to help him out, and as he does a burnout in turn number 2, give it a 2. Brandon Robertson, a class act in the series, and well deserved to get that win with that lucky break, and obviously trekked on pretty well on his own once he got the lead.
Everything just falling right into the hands of number 2, of the caution coming out just at the right time to let him get the tires and fuel that he needed to go to the end. And with the timing and scoring having a bit of an issue, that just gave him everything he needed to bring it home to a checkered flag to get his 3rd win of the season. Now he's going to bring it up to banging to the wall and just let the smoke fly, as it looks like he might have possibly blown an engine there with how hard he was up against this. He's going to bring it down to the rest, down to the apron, as Brandon Robertson celebrating the 3rd place finish, a 3rd win of the season here for the Bluegrass iRacing Series at Darlington. We will take a quick commercial break here to get set for the post-race show. Stay tuned with us here for the post-race interviews, as well as the result rundown. Stay tuned with here on PitStop TV. We'll be right back.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Sound Art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it Sound Art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound Art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Welcome back, race fans, to PitStop TV. Before we get into the post-race show, we want to take a quick look at what happened to Justin Winters here, who is running in a strong top 10 position to have made him go down pit road. As you see him coming off of turn number 4, he was very loose already, now making the run down the front straightaway, as it looked like he was already struggling, fighting there with Bryce Hunter for the 7th position. As you're going to see him come out turn number 1 and 2, as we look to see what caused that incident.
So we're coming through the turn right now. Bryce Hunter in tow behind, but Justin should be fine on his own. Coming in, it seems like he doesn't get the apex too wrong, but just a little bit of the wall on the top side upsets the balance of that car. Coming off of turn number 2 and then straight into the inside wall, locks it down. Actually does a really good job of keeping control of that car after the contact with the wall there, but tough stuff for him at the end of the race to get into that contact. And I don't know if he was still thinking about whether or not he wanted to come down to the pits at that point in time, but yeah, he did a really good job of keeping control of it once he hit the wall, but tough break to get into the wall so late in the run.
Yeah, very close to striking a caution, was able to keep it straight. And with that, we're gonna quickly want to give a shout out to our partners here. This race being brought to you by Tucson Sound Art. Your picture, your music. Use code PitStop TV at checkout for 10% off your wall-mounted sound art device today. By Race Pace. Pick up pace with Race Pace, a community-driven setup shop and driver development program. By Permanent Makeup in Maine. You deserve the best care money can buy. And by Whiplash Media, the official graphic and camera provider of PitStop TV. And with that, that'll bring us into our post-race show. And with that, let's bring in our race winner here tonight, that being the number 2 of Brandon Robertson. Well, Brandon, you said that last caution was exactly what you needed to get you to the end, and you're able to take home a race win here at Darlington. How does it feel having one more win under your belt as you set up for a championship run here next week?
Man, that was the luckiest win ever, I think. I mean, I had two incidents there that I just buried myself in the first stint and got a 40-second penalty 1 lap down. Got a lucky caution and somehow got my lap back. I was the lucky dog, so that put me back in it. And then toward the end there, John, clearly I thought I might have something for him when we were even up, and he ended up just pulling like a 2-second lead. I had nothing for him, so I wasn't gonna play his strategy. I was just gonna do whatever he didn't do, and my goal was to pit at lap 115 if he didn't, and he ended up pitting around that, so I just ran it all out, and then ran the whole next stint out again, and just got a lucky caution, and that put me up front for when it mattered.
And with that last restart, it was obviously a very jumbled up mess between the leaders and the lap cars. What was going through your mind seeing all of those cars single file behind you with your teammate up along your outside?
Yeah, I don't know what that was. I was expecting like a John Kinder, Lancaster, Noggle. Like, I thought we were all going to be on fresh tires for like the last 10-15 laps, and it was going to be a duel. That kind of wasn't fortunate. I'll admit that. As much as I liked the win, I would have at least liked a fair shot. I thought that was kind of unfortunate.
And with that, now you gain your 3rd win of the season. Now going into the postseason, you set up for the first race at Bristol. What is going to be your game plan for the week to prepare for that race?
I am more concerned with the next one after that. I think it's either Talladega. I think you could probably help me out, but it's a super speedway. I think Bristol, you can kind of control your own destiny and you can survive. Honestly, Talladega, that's just going to be a mess. And then I think we have a real good shot at the Roval.
Absolutely. It's going to be Bristol, Talladega, the Roval, and then Phoenix to wrap up the season. 4 very interesting tracks that you have a shot at to strengthen your chance at a championship. Well, before I let you go here to celebrate your 3rd win of the season, just again, who do you have to thank for how this race went here tonight to give you lucked into a shot to win tonight?
Just my team for kind of working strategy with me and talking about it over the course of the race, and shout out to Bryce Hunter and John Kinder. They both, I think, ran clean races 0x, and also shout out to Eric for he watches every race, and he just had 2 boys, so yeah, shout out to all them.
All right, well, congratulations on the 3rd win of the season. Congratulations on a very hard-fought race all night, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you again next week as we get ready to go to Bristol.
Hey, thanks, appreciate it.
All right, well, that will do it for your race winner, Mr. Brandon Robertson, and I will now hand it off to Joe Donahue, who should have a very happy 2nd place Matt Grenier.
Yes, sir. We're going to bring in the driver of the number 15. Matt, this is Joe Donahue with PitStop TV. Do you got a copy?
I got you, Joe. Go ahead.
Well, Matt, we started off our broadcast watching you run a pretty darn long stint. Your strategy seemed to be a little bit different at the set off of the gun at the beginning of this race, and it trekked the whole way through with you. But talk about your strategy coming in and why you ran so long at the beginning.
Yeah, I blew qualifying, so I hit the wall both times, so I didn't didn't even get a lap in, so I had to start in the rear. Been fortunate I haven't had to do that too much this season, but tonight wasn't the night for it. So when we got that early caution, I was in the back. I figured I'll go in, top up on fuel, and see if I can't squeak out a couple extra laps once we start getting some pit stops. And fortunately, it went green, and I got to stay out. I lost a lot of time, obviously, with everyone being on fresher tires, but the long game really seemed to work well tonight, and that kind of got us to where we are tonight. So, or at the end of the race, I should say.
Yeah, I was going to say, when we saw you get up to the front end of the field, I mean, obviously you lead the way and then fall back a little bit, and especially when you had to come into the pits. But for the most part, you got back up to the front of the field and you stayed there, which was a pretty good run for you. And you stayed with your teammates the whole time. Do you think there was any work with your teammates or anything of that sorts that helped you out right there? Or do you think it was just kind of the way that things went that you were able to make up so much time running your own strategy that you ended up trekking your way through the field through pit stop strategy too?
Pit stop strategy was probably the main thing for me for the first segment. Once we get to the stage, that kind of set me back even with everyone again. I was up further in the field and kind of caught up. So second stage was more about working with the guys and making sure that we could get where we needed to be, and we're all up there as opposed to trying to take one, not give anything. So
absolutely there, Matt. And in the end, it paid off for you pretty well. A little bit of luck at the end with that late caution that obviously gave Brandon Robertson the run to the finish, but also gave you a nice shot to get in second place as well there. Looking forward, though, I mean, obviously you're in the playoffs with that win you had earlier this season. What is your outlook on the races we've got ahead of us? We got Bristol, we got Talladega, we got the Roval.
We got 3 wild cards coming up. Anything can happen at all 3. I'm really excited about all 3. I like all the tracks. I'm excited to race them, but we got to go and see how it plays out to see where we end up. I like Bristol. I like Talladega. The Roval's challenging. It's different for us, and I had a pretty good run there last season, so I'm feeling confident that I can do pretty well, and we'll just have to see where it plays out.
Absolutely. I do feel that I recall a certain driver of the number 15 having a pretty solid performance at the Roval last season, but we'll be looking to see if you can put that together again and maybe even get that win and secure a spot at Phoenix. Before we let you go to celebrate this awesome second place finish for you, we'll let you have the floor. Thank or say anything you want here to anybody out there watching the broadcast.
Yeah, again, just got to thank the Team New England, my teammates, talking us through strategy and doing what they do. Got to thank my parents, my girlfriend. Again, shout out to our buddy Eric, who just had twins. So I think it was their first race watching, so that was pretty exciting. And thanks to Nick and Jason with Bluegrass iRacing Series putting this together, and thanks for you guys for the broadcast.
Absolutely, Matt. A pleasure as always. Congratulations once more. Go grab yourself a beer or something. Get a load off and enjoy this one, buddy.
Thanks, Joe. Will do. Have a good night.
You too, my friend.
Thank you.
So there is second place finisher Matt Grenier. We're not going to be pulling in. We're unable to get our third place finisher, so we're going to be bringing in a guy who had a pretty tough end of this race. Noah, Adam Lancaster, the driver number 28.
Now bringing in the number 20 of Adam Lancaster, finishing 4th here on the night. You had a very, very strong run here, being able to bring it home in 4th. How is it for you trying to tackle it around here at Darlington?
Yeah, Darlington's a tough racetrack. I felt like we had that restart we got up there with John, and got a good restart and kind of fell in behind him and just trying to hang on to Superman's cape, and felt like we were doing a pretty good job with that. And I looked down and checked my relative and got in the wall a little bit and couldn't get out of it. Got a little bit of damage and got it fixed up on pit road, but the car never really had the same speed in it the rest of the night. So, kind of an odd series of events there with the late caution the wave arounds and the lucky dog, and we were all trying to figure out who lined up where and how all that was, supposed to work out. So had a set of tires in the pits and probably should have took those, but all in all, I mean, it was a good night, and I'll take a top 5. Could have been a little bit better. My heart breaks for John and his group. He's hands down had several races this year that he should have won, and he was the class of the field and had us all covered, and has had one thing or the other. So really, really hate that for him. That would have been a great way to catapult him into the playoffs with a win.
Absolutely, indeed. You had your win at Loudon that locked your way in. Now with a 4th place finish, you head into Bristol. What is the game plan going to be there, as now you set your sights on possibly taking home a championship?
Yeah, this championship run is really a gauntlet of racetracks that anything can happen. Bristol, there's nowhere to really hide. Everything happens so fast and comes at you really fast. So you can kind of be minding your business and have an incident in front of you. There's nowhere to go. So I really feel like that if the wind's out there, obviously that's going to get you through to the next round. But just try to have a good clean race and stay out of trouble and get a good solid finish. Obviously we won at Talladega last year, so we feel like if we get a little luck on our side, we're the whole team with John and Justin and Casey, and we're all pretty good with the plate racing. So I feel like I got a good shot at winning at Talladega, but we got to get there first.
And you talked about the struggles with John and the pain that you felt with him having another win taken away from him. We saw on that last restart, when they threw the yellow back out to do another lap around, he fell all the way to the rear. Do you have any idea what might have been the cause of that?
I was one of the wave around cars. There's a lot of stuff with that I'm still kind of confused about. But I was one of the wave around cars, and we were still on the back stretch trying to get caught up to the field when they were coming to green. So I don't know if they extended the caution to try to let everybody get lined up. But I mean, I had multiple. I was back on the lead lap, although I wasn't able to pit. But I had multiple cars a lap down that it was telling, probably 6 cars in front of me that I kind of felt like I should have restarted in front of them. And then John was in front of me. Kinder was in front of me. He was running 3rd, and I was running 4th. And I guess he got the lucky dog, and it told him to go to the back. Told me to pass him. So there was a lot going on there that I don't quite understand. I'll leave it to the admins and everybody to sort that out, and hopefully they can explain all that to us later on. But definitely unfortunate for all of us, really, that the caution came out. I felt like we were in good shape, especially for John there. But it was insult to injury. The way all the wave around cars and everybody lined up, and John had to go completely to the back. So just unfortunate. I wish I had a better answer, but I don't understand it completely myself.
All right. Well, now with that being said, before I let you go here to try and set up for Bristol next week, who do you have to thank here for your top 5 finish here at Darlington?
Yeah, just thank everybody with Ghostface Brewing, Rims One, you guys with PitStop TV, Bluegrass, and Jason and Nick, everybody that puts this series on, and obviously everybody with Angry Asian Motorsports, John Kinder and Casey Barlow and Justin Winters and Ronnie Shirk, everybody that's a part of that group. We work hard and work well together, and just appreciate all the camaraderie that we have with our group, and hopefully that'll pay dividends here in the playoffs.
All right, well, congratulations on a 4th place finish, and hopefully we get to see some more out of you for these next 4 races in the postseason.
Absolutely, I hope so.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our 4th place finisher, Adam Lancaster. And with that, we're going to jump it into our official, or I should say unofficial, race results here at Darlington. Brandon Robertson bringing home to take home his 3rd win of the season. Matt Grenier going to bring it home in 2nd. John Kinner having to deal with another heartbreaking loss back there in 3rd. Teammate Adam Lancaster, who we just talked to, will bring it home in 4th. Nicholas Nango going to be able to round it up to a top 5 finish to wrap up his race regular season, with Ryan Kendall in 6th. Bryce Hunter with a really good run. He brings us home 7th, first car lap down. Nathan Maurer in finishing 8th in a number 97, possibly able to boost himself into the postseason with that finish. Wyatt Brackett, your winner at Watkins Glen, brings it home 9th, and Ronnie Shirk Jr. will round out your top 10 in a number 7 car.
We look back to the 11th finishing position is going to be David Brackett, 2 laps down in the number 38 machine. 12th place will also be 2 laps down, the Scott Fritz driving car number 1. Justin Winters got into the wall there at the end of the race. He finishes it out in 13th place, 4 laps down, and Tyler Reed comes home in 14th, just behind him. Rounding out your top 15 tonight is going to be the number 55 of CJ Mason, 5 laps down, and then you look further back to 39 laps down, number 13, Brian Perry. We saw him get into the wall pretty hard in the exit of turn number 2. Gary Jazorski rounds it out in 17th, 42 laps behind the leaders, and Casey Barlow going to come home in 18th, 57 laps behind. Nick Mills rounds out tonight's race in 19th spot, 60 laps behind. Jack Bauer ends up in 20th, 83 laps down. Tried to trek that one out at the end. And you look back to the final 21st finishing position is going to be Michael Brisson in the 71, sent home pretty early in tonight's race, but rounds out your 21 car field.
And that will wrap up your 21 car results here for tonight. And before we bring it off the air here tonight, we want to give another quick shout out to our partners here on PitStop TV. First off, we want to give a shout out to the partners over the Bluegrass iRacing series, that being Rims One, a really long time supporter of the Bluegrass iRacing series, who have done a lot for these guys. But just really quickly, we want to give a quick shout out to our partners, that being Tucson Sound Art. Your picture, your music. You provide the image you want, and we will custom create a beautiful framed, high quality canvas with a built-in Bluetooth speaker. With Sound Art, you get the best of both worlds. Visit TucsonSoundArt.com for additional information. Use promo code PitStop TV at checkout and receive 10% off your purchase. Race Pace. Ever wish you could have a race engineer on speed dial? Well, now you can, thanks to Race Pace, a driver development service and setup shop all in one. Work with Tyler, a real race world engineer, to set up your game before your next race. Pick up pace with Race Pace. Permanent makeup in Cryo and Maine. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy. At Permanent Makeup in Cryo and Maine, the owner Ashley Bollier is a certified micropigmentation specialist who provides professional, safe, and personalized services. You can contact Permanent Makeup in Cryo and Maine at permanentmakeupinmaine.com or call/text them at 207-358-8683. If you're looking for the best solutions for your permanent makeup concerns, give Permanent Makeup in Cryo and Maine a call today to book a consultation. Lastly, I want to give a shout out to Whiplash Media, PitStop TV's new parent organization. Whiplash Media specializes in various sim racing resources, including paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing camera packs, and more. Whiplash Media is also working on its presence in real racing, offering services such as photography, social media management, and public relations. Go to whiplash-media.com for more information. And with that, we will quickly go through the final run through the points to announce our 16 drivers here for the postseason, that being the number 1 of Brandon Robertson. He will take home the regular season championship. John Kinder, this is actually to announce our seed here in the current lineups for the playoff standings. So Brandon Robertson will be the number 1 seed going into the postseason. He will start off with 2,016 points. John Kinder is actually your regular season champion, but he will be in 2nd seed with 2,015 points. Matt Grenier will line up 3rd seed along with Casey Barlow, Adam Lancaster, Wyatt Brackett, and Justin Winters. 8th seed will go to Ryan Kendall. One behind him is going to be Nathan Maurer. Bryce Hunter will be the 10th seed, and he will be tied with Jack Bauer, Nicholas Nuggle, Nick Mills, Ronnie Shirk, and Gary Jazorski, and CJ Mason. So Nathan Maurer is actually making the points in 9th, so he actually boosts his way quite a bit in the seeding, as that is going to be your 16 drivers who will fight for a championship starting next week at Bristol, which should be an absolute thriller, Joe, as that is quite a lineup for our top 16.
Yeah, I mean, we saw coming into the show, the point standings were very different than how they ended up being, with a lot of the guys that were on the outside looking in now secured a spot, those being guys like Gary Jaworski and CJ Mason, even Nathan Maurer. But really nice to see that we got that all squared away, and we got 16 drivers lined up and ready to go for these next few races to try to trek on to Phoenix and hopefully get their car into that Final Four and compete for the second title of the Bluegrass iRacing Series.
Absolutely, and with that, that will actually finally conclude our coverage here of the Bluegrass iRacing Series at Darlington Raceway. We have PitStop TV. Thank you for tuning in and joining us for tonight's action, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. Be sure to tune in Friday for the LTAC Cup Series at Michigan International Raceway. Then be sure to stay tuned all weekend, as on Saturday, the Nork Cup Series hosts its duels for Sunday's Nork Tona 500. Then be sure to bring it back Monday for the BRP iRacing Series and Pacific Challenge GT3 Series doubleheader. Then on Tuesday for Operation E Motorsports as they go north of the border to Mosport. Then be sure to be back next Wednesday as the Bluegrass iRacing Series will kick off its playoffs for the championship live from Bristol. Make sure to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/PitStopTV. Also on Twitter at PitStopTV_, and on Twitch at Pit_Stop_TV, and on YouTube by just simply searching PitStop TV. For all of PitStop TV, Joe Donahue with me on the mic, Andrew Cardinale the fourth with me on the booth, and Trey Shuttlesworth on social media. I'm Noah Carmichael, and we will see you next time.